Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this What If story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by 𝗏𝗏𝗏642 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Hisashi approached Izuku with excitement, sharing that they would be visiting the doctor the next day to find out if he had a quirk. Izuku's eyes lit up with anticipation, expressing his eagerness to discover what his quirk might be. Hisashi hoped it would help Izuku become a great hero, perhaps like 𝐼𝐻𝐬. Inko, their mother, reminded Izuku that it was time for bed, prompting him to change into his pajamas. After getting settled, his parents entered his room, checking on him. Hisashi asked if he was ready for the big day, and Izuku eagerly replied that he couldn't wait, wishing for a quirk as impressive as theirs. Inko kissed Izuku's forehead, expressing her love for him, and he reciprocated the sentiment. Once Izuku fell asleep, his parents stepped into their room to discuss their concerns. Inko worried that if Izuku didn't receive a quirk, he might be teased by other children at school. Hisashi reassured her, mentioning that if Izuku didn't have a quirk, he would reach out to an old friend for help. Inko recognized the friend's name and felt comforted by Hisashi's words, affirming her love for him. The following day, Hisashi and Inko dressed and headed to the kitchen, surprised to find Izuku already prepared for the doctor's appointment. Izuku expressed his excitement about discovering his quirk, and Inko encouraged them to leave. At the doctor's office, the doctor delivered the disappointing news that Izuku had no quirk. As Izuku heard this, he dropped his all-might figure, his head hanging low, his hair obscuring his eyes. Hisashi, trying to maintain a positive atmosphere, decided to speak with Izuku privately, sending Inko to wait in the car. Hisashi reassured Izuku that he didn't need a quirk to be a hero, sharing his own experience of being picked on for being quirkless. He emphasized that true heroism comes from the heart. Izuku, feeling uplifted, vowed to make his father proud and become the first quirkless hero. Hisashi encouraged him, suggesting they visit the park the following day, to which Izuku happily agreed. As they approached the car, Izuku's thoughts were filled with determination, promising himself that he would show everyone what he was capable of. Meanwhile, he noticed Kirishima, who seemed surprised but was also impressed by Izuku's confidence. Shoto introduced himself, revealing that his right side had an ice quirk while his left side had a fire quirk. Kirishima complimented Shoto's quirk, and Izuku inquired about Shoto's hesitation when mentioning fire. Shoto explained the pressure he faced from his father, the number 2 hero, who pushed him to surpass 𝐼𝐻𝐬, which he found difficult. Izuku empathized with Shoto, and Kirishima supported the idea of friendship, suggesting they could always rely on each other. Just then they heard a commotion with someone calling out a name. Meanwhile, Ochako was at the park with her friends Mina and Momo, testing their quirks. Mina proposed a challenge to Ochako, asking if she could make herself float. Excited to try, Ochako ran towards a tree, using her quirk to float up and sit on a branch. Her friends cheered her on, but suddenly the branch broke, and Ochako began to fall. As she braced for impact, someone caught her, and she opened her eyes to find she had landed on a boy. Izuku noticed a girl perched in a tree and rushed toward her. He leaped and caught her just as she opened her eyes, their faces mere inches apart, both blushing. He asked if she was okay, and she stammered her thanks. Before they could say more, Kirishima and Todoroki came running, calling out to Izuku, followed by 2 other girls who were presumably the girl's friends, also shouting her name. As they stood up, Izuku took in the 2 friends, one with pink skin, yellow eyes, and pink hair, and the other with a spiky ponytail. Mina asked Ochako if she was all right and who Izuku was. Ochako explained that he had saved her. Kirishima checked on Izuku, surprised that he had come to her aid. Izuku, feeling a blush rise, admitted he couldn't just stand by and watch her get hurt. In her thoughts, Ochako realized he cared about her. Mina whispered to Momo, suggesting that Ochako liked him, to which Momo agreed. Izuku introduced himself as Izuku Midoriya and introduced his friends, Eijiro Kirishima and Shoto Todoroki. Ochako introduced herself and her friends, Mina Ishido and Momo Yaoyorozu. As they chatted, Kirishima asked if the girls were training to become heroes. Mina replied that they planned to be great heroes when they grew up and asked about their quirks. Kirishima shared that his quirk was hardening, allowing him to solidify any part of his body. Mina explained her quirk, acid, which let her shoot acid from her hands, noting her pink skin was a mutation. Shoto revealed his quirk was half cold, half hot, enabling him to shoot ice from one side and fire from the other. Momo shared her quirk, creation, which allowed her to create anything from her body. Ochako explained her quirk, zero gravity, which allowed her to make things weightless by touching them with all 5 fingers. When it was Izuku's turn, he felt nervous, prompting Kirishima to offer to explain for him. Ochako wondered what was wrong, and Izuku decided to speak up, revealing he was quirkless. The girls were taken aback, as was Todoroki, who hadn't known this before. In her thoughts, Ochako felt sympathy for him, recognizing the challenge he faced. Izuku expressed that despite not having a quirk, he wouldn't give up on his dream of becoming the first quirkless hero, emphasizing that heroism comes from the heart. Ochako admired his confidence, feeling a connection to him. Momo found his determination inspiring, believing he would be a great hero. Izuku suggested that the 6 of them could form a team and be unstoppable if they worked together. Kirishima and Shoto eagerly agreed, and Mina wanted to join as well. Momo followed suit, and Izuku turned to Ochako, asking if she would join them. In her mind, she decided to join for Izuku. She confirmed her participation, and Izuku felt this was the beginning of a strong friendship and the start of their journey to become a great team of heroes. As they raised their hands high in the air, Izuku spotted his parents watching proudly, knowing he wouldn't let them down. The next day, Izuku asked his dad what they were doing. Hisashi had woken him up, explaining that they were going to a special place. They arrived at a martial arts school, and Hisashi revealed he was visiting a friend to help Izuku train for UA. Izuku was excited at the opportunity. Upon entering, he spotted the pro hero 𝐼𝐻𝐻, who greeted Hisashi, mentioning it had been a while since his wedding to 𝐼𝐻𝐬. Hisashi introduced his son, Izuku, to 𝐼𝐻𝐻, expressing his hope that 𝐼𝐻𝐻 could train Izuku since he lacked a quirk. 𝐼𝐻𝐻, sympathetic to the situation, agreed to help. Izuku, curious, asked how his father knew 𝐼𝐻𝐻. Hisashi explained that 𝐼𝐻𝐻 was his best friend from middle school, someone he supported during his time at UA. He had even made 𝐼𝐻𝐻 Izuku's godfather. Excitedly, 𝐼𝐻𝐻 encouraged Izuku to train to become the first quirkless hero. Time passed, and after 1 to 3 months of training, Izuku had learned numerous fighting techniques and takedowns. He had also practiced tricks and flips. One day, while playing with friends, Izuku encountered Bakugo, who had become a bully. Bakugo taunted Izuku about being quirkless, calling him useless. Despite the harsh words, Izuku stood firm, declaring his determination to become a hero. As Bakugo continued his insults, Izuku prepared to leave, but Bakugo rushed at him, using his quirk. Izuku felt the impact and reacted, frustrated by Bakugo's behavior. Just then, Shoto stepped out from behind the bushes, standing protectively in front of Izuku. Kirishima and the others quickly joined him, forming a united front against Bakugo. Encouraged by his friends, Izuku took a fighting stance. Bakugo laughed, underestimating him, but Izuku surprised everyone by executing a flip and landing behind Bakugo, delivering a swift kick to his side. Bakugo, momentarily stunned, tried to retaliate, but Izuku skillfully dodged and countered, taking Bakugo down. His friends were astonished by Izuku's fighting skills. They praised him, expressing their newfound confidence in him. Bakugo, getting back on his feet, vowed that their rivalry was far from over before storming off. Izuku's friends approached him, impressed by his performance. He revealed that his godfather, 𝐼𝐻𝐻, had taught him how to defend himself, while he had learned the flips on his own. His friends were curious about Bakugo's nickname for him, and Izuku explained that it was originally a playful nickname that Bakugo twisted to mock him. Ochako found the nickname endearing, suggesting it sounded like encouragement. Izuku, feeling comfortable, invited his friends to call him by that name. As they chatted, Izuku mentioned he would be going to the movies with his parents, and he ran off to prepare. His friends waved goodbye, and the conversation turned to Ochako feelings for Izuku. She denied any romantic interest, but her friends teased her about her reactions around him. They promised to keep her secret safe. Later, as Izuku and his parents arrived at the theater, they discussed which movie to watch. Izuku spotted a poster featuring a superhero with a burning bat logo and eagerly chose that film. 𝐼𝐼𝐬𝐽 expressed concern about potential nightmares, but Hisashi reassured her that Izuku could handle it. As they watched the movie, Izuku was captivated by the hero's bravery, especially since he was quirkless like Izuku. Inspired by the hero's determination to fight against overwhelming odds, Izuku resolved to become a great hero himself. After the movie, as they exited the theater, Hisashi decided to take a shortcut through an alley. Izuku, filled with excitement, pretended to be the hero from the film. However, their playful moment turned serious when a mysterious man approached them, brandishing a revolver and demanding money. Hisashi instinctively stepped in front of his family, ready to protect them. He took out his wallet, preparing to comply, but then his quirk activated, launching a swift counterattack against the assailant. Meanwhile, Izuku was cheering for his father, feeling a surge of excitement as the fight unfolded. The battle lasted about 5 minutes until a mysterious man gained the upper hand. In a shocking turn of events, he aimed his weapon at Hisashi and fired, sending Hisashi staggering backward. 𝐼𝐼𝐬𝐽's scream pierced the air, but the man silenced her with another shot. Izuku stood frozen, unable to comprehend the horror before him as he witnessed his parents fall. The mysterious figure quickly snatched the money and fled the scene. Izuku rushed to his father, who managed to utter his final words, expressing his love. As Hisashi's breath faded, Izuku's tears flowed freely. He had just witnessed the loss of his parents, who had sacrificed everything to protect him. This marked a pivotal moment in Izuku's life, a day he would never forget. He made a solemn promise to himself. The world seemed to conspire against him, and without a quirk, his dream of becoming a hero felt impossible. Yet from that day forward, he vowed to become the #1 hero and avenge his parents. Meanwhile, Ochako was at home, playing with her toys while her parents watched the news. Suddenly, a report about a murder in an alley caught her attention. The reporter, Vicky Vale, announced the tragic news about Hisashi and 𝐼𝐼𝐬𝐽 Midoriya. Ochako gasped at the mention of their name. According to the report, their son, Izuku, had survived and was at the police station. Without hesitation, Ochako rushed to her room to grab a jacket and called out to her parents, urging them to go to the police station. Her mother, concerned, asked what was wrong, but Ochako insisted that she needed to check on her friend. Her father agreed, and they quickly set off. In the car, Ochako created a group chat to inform her friends. Momo, Mina, Kirishima, and Shoto responded, but the mood shifted when she revealed the news about Izuku's parents. They all agreed to go to the police station to support him. Upon arriving, Ochako dashed inside, ignoring her parents' calls to wait. She approached the front desk, inquiring about Izuku Midoriya. The attendant pointed her in the right direction, and soon she spotted him wearing a police jacket. Seeing him, she rushed forward and embraced him tightly, noticing the remnants of tears on his face. As they held each other, their friends arrived, calling out to Izuku. They surrounded him, offering their support. Izuku shared the traumatic experience he had just endured, but Momo gently urged him to stay calm. Mina reassured him that they were there for him, and Kirishima promised to have his back. Izuku expressed his determination to honor his father's last words and keep his promise to be strong. Just then, 𝐼𝐻𝐻 entered the room. Izuku stepped away from the group to greet him, and they shared a heartfelt embrace. 𝐼𝐻𝐻 assured Izuku that he would take care of him, which surprised their friends. Kirishima asked if 𝐼𝐻𝐻 would still allow Izuku to spend time with them, to which 𝐼𝐻𝐻 promised he would. Time passed, and Izuku found himself at a church, dressed in a tuxedo, standing before his parents' coffins. Ochako approached him, reminding him that it was time to take them to the cemetery. Izuku nodded, feeling a mix of sorrow and determination. He rode with Ochako, feeling a strange connection to her. Upon arrival, he approached his father's coffin and made a silent vow to make the world a better place so that no one else would suffer the loss he had endured. He turned to his friends and 𝐼𝐻𝐻, smiling at them, resolved to become the hero his parents had always wanted him to be. Before leaving, he placed a family photo between their gravestones, marking the beginning of his journey. As time went on, Izuku moved in with 𝐼𝐻𝐻, adapting to a new life. His friends often came to watch his training sessions, and he became stronger. Ochako occasionally blushed when she saw his progress. They all trained together, preparing for their future at UA. Kaken continued to bully him, but Izuku found solace in the close bond he shared with his friends. One day, during class, the teacher announced that they would be discussing career aspirations. Excitement filled the room as everyone expressed their longing to become heroes. The teacher tossed the career sheets into the air, and Izuku felt a surge of hope. However, Kaken's dismissive remark cut through the excitement, reminding everyone of Izuku's Quirkless status. Despite the laughter from others, Izuku remained focused on his goal. After class, as they packed up, Mina suggested they hang out at the mall, and the group agreed, ready to support each other through whatever challenges lay ahead. As Izuku reached for his hero analysis book, Bakugo snatched it away first. Izuku called out for Bakugo to return it, but Bakugo accused him and his friends of making a grave error by stealing his spotlight. Kirishima intervened, urging Bakugo to give back the book, while Shoto pointed out that they hadn't taken anything. The teacher had merely informed the students that they would also be attending UA. Bakugo then declared that he would teach them a lesson to prevent them from stealing the spotlight again, and he caused a small explosion that damaged Izuku's journal. Ochako exclaimed that it was Izuku's book, and Bakugo warned her to be careful, suggesting she didn't want to end up like her boyfriend. This remark made both Ochako and Izuku blush. As Izuku picked up his book, he felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see it was Ochako. She asked if he was okay, to which he replied that he wouldn't let Bakugo get into his head. He suggested they head to the mall. Upon arriving, they made their way to the food court to chat. Kirishima asked what they thought their hero costumes would be like. Izuku mentioned that if someone had a costume idea, they could send a description and an image, and it would be created. Mina expressed her frustration, saying she couldn't draw well enough to convey her ideas. Izuku proposed that he could draw their costumes for them to submit. Momo agreed that it was a good idea. After a brief pause, Ochako asked about Izuku's hero costume. He teased that they would have to wait until they were at UA to find out. Kirishima urged him to share, but Shoto suggested that if Midoriya wanted to keep it a surprise, they should let him. Izuku then said his goodbyes, stating he had training to attend. As he arrived at 𝐼𝐻𝐻's martial arts dojo, 𝐼𝐻𝐻 informed him that he had a surprise. Curious, Izuku asked what it was. 𝐼𝐻𝐻 revealed that they would be learning defense techniques against swords that day. Izuku was excited, admitting he had never learned that before. 𝐼𝐻𝐻 instructed him to wear some gear that had been given to him by an old friend. After finishing his tasks, Izuku reflected on his hero costume. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. He stood up and opened it to find 𝐼𝐻𝐻 waiting outside. 𝐼𝐻𝐻 expressed his decision to give Izuku a pair of gauntlets, explaining that he noticed Izuku's costume lacked forearm protection after seeing the sketch. Grateful, Izuku thanked 𝐼𝐻𝐻 and embraced him before closing the door. He changed into his pajamas and went to sleep. The following day, Izuku woke up and completed 10 push-ups and 10 pull-ups. After taking a shower, he dressed in his school uniform and glanced at his desk, contemplating his gear. He decided to take his wingdings and 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐻 sticks, packing 20 wingdings onto his belt and placing the 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐻 sticks in his backpack. He rushed out of his room, performed a double flip down the stairs, and exited through the door. To his surprise, his friends were waiting for him outside. Izuku greeted them, curious about their presence. Ochako explained that they had decided to wake up early to wait for him. Izuku then mentioned hearing about a crime in the area and asked if they wanted to check it out. The group eagerly agreed. Upon arriving at the scene, they spotted a villain on the train tracks. Pro hero Kamui Woods was present, but the villain attempted to escape until another pro, 𝐿𝐴 intervened and kicked him away. She confidently declared her prowess, drawing attention from the group, while Izuku took notes on the heroes. After a long day at school, Izuku learned that 𝐿_MIGHT had captured a sludge villain and began walking to a different area. Kirishima observed the group and suggested they get something to eat, but they soon noticed Izuku leaving in another direction. Concerned, they wondered where he was headed, and Momo suggested they follow him. Izuku made his way to a flower shop to buy roses before heading to a rooftop where he had secretly been learning to play the guitar. He then arrived at the graveyard, stopping at the gravestones of Hisashi and Inko Midoriya. He spoke to them about his progress in school and his training, explaining that he had received the guitar from 𝐼𝐻𝐻 as a secret gift. He placed the roses on the ground, knowing how much his mother loved them, and prepared to play a song he had been working on. Meanwhile, Ochako and the others watched from a distance, surprised by Izuku's singing talent. They agreed to give him some space as they left, but as they returned to the city, they noticed Bakugo engaged in a struggle against a sludge monster in a tunnel. They rushed to help him. Ochako instructed Mina to call for heroes, while the group pondered how the villain had escaped All Might. Suddenly, Todoroki was struck and knocked back, prompting Momo to rush to his side. The sludge villain then captured both Bakugo and Ochako, using Bakugo's quirk to create a wall of fire, holding them hostage. Izuku, leaving the graveyard, noticed a crowd gathering near the tunnel. Approaching, he saw his friends and learned that the sludge villain had taken Ochako and Bakugo captive. Concerned about the hero's inaction due to the wall of fire, Izuku quickly formulated a plan. He set down his belongings and retrieved his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 sticks from his backpack. Mina and Kirishima were surprised to see him armed, but Izuku explained that he needed to save them. He donned his mask and ran to a building, performing flips up the ladders before landing atop the tunnel and entering. A news report covered the incident, highlighting the mysterious figure entering the fray. As Izuku entered, the sludge attacked, but he skillfully dodged and used his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 sticks to fend it off. He threw his wingdings to cut through the sludge and reached Bakugo, tossing him to safety. Bakugo was bewildered, but Izuku quickly moved to rescue Ochako. The sludge villain, frustrated, threatened Izuku, but he retaliated by throwing an 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 stick at the villain's eye, causing him to release Ochako. Izuku assured her that she was safe now and carried her to the pros. After setting her down, he approached a fire hydrant and struck it with his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 stick. Water erupted into the air, and Izuku spun his stick to deflect the water onto the flames, extinguishing the fire and clearing the way for the heroes to act. Returning to the tunnel despite the heroes' warnings felt reckless, but Izuku was determined. Sludge, the villain, expressed his frustration, claiming that the girl had been his protection. Izuku, fueled by a sense of justice, declared that Sludge would pay for his actions. He moved closer, retrieving his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 sticks, ready for battle. As Sludge launched his attacks, Izuku skillfully dodged, landing several hits in return. The professional heroes observed in disbelief. Kamui Woods wondered about the young boy's capabilities, while 𝗟𝗏 noted his surprising charm. Death Arms expressed concern for Izuku's safety, suggesting they intervene, but Izuku insisted they hold back, warning that Sludge would exploit their quirks against innocent people. The heroes, taken aback by his words, hesitated. Vicky pointed out that Izuku was bravely confronting the sludge villain alone. Suddenly, a powerful voice echoed through the tunnel, "Texas Smash." All Might arrived, swiftly defeating Sludge and trapping him in a containment bottle. He turned to Izuku, praising his efforts. The crowd erupted in cheers as the heroes approached Izuku, who seized the moment to activate a smoke bomb, declaring his disappearance with a playful spirit. Once hidden, he texted his friends to let them know he was heading home. Just then he heard a familiar voice calling out to him. Ochako rushed forward, hugging him tightly before stepping back to express her gratitude. Izuku reassured her that it was no trouble at all and suggested they gather with their friends the next day to train for UA. Ochako agreed, but she also had something special to give him. Curious, Izuku asked what it was. Izuku took the item to his home and informed 𝐼𝐻𝐻 that after the exam, he would have a driver's test to obtain his license. The following day, he woke up and went through his usual routine until he remembered it was exam day. He quickly changed into his workout clothes, grabbed his jacket, and fashioned a utility belt to hold his wingdings. He also managed to create a grapple gun, explosive discs, and smoke bombs. After saying goodbye to 𝐼𝐻𝐻, who was heading to a different city for his new martial arts gym, Izuku found himself alone in the house. Upon arriving at UA, he noticed 𝗏𝐾𝐭 walking past him in silence. As he approached, he tripped over his own foot and was about to fall, but when he opened his eyes, he found himself floating. He knew who was responsible for this. Ochako asked if he was all right, and Izuku requested to be put down. She reminded him that it was bad luck to fall on the first day. Grateful for her help, he suggested they head inside. Inside the stadium, many students were listening to present Mick's speech. When Present Mic explained the 3 robots they needed to defeat, a boy with blue hair and glasses mentioned a 4th robot. Just as Present Mic was about to respond, Izuku interjected, clarifying that the 4th robot was worth no points and advised everyone to avoid it. Present Mic confirmed Izuku's statement, prompting the blue-haired boy to glare at him before they moved on to their designated city areas. Kirishima and Mino were assigned to City B, while Ochako and Izuku went to City A. After exiting the bus, Izuku approached Ochako to wish her luck but was interrupted by the same boy from the stadium, who accused him of trying to distract her. Izuku insisted that she was his friend and he was merely wishing her well. When Present Mic shouted for them to start, Izuku was the first to dash forward, leaving the others confused. Present Mic encouraged the others to follow the green-haired student. As he ran through the city, Izuku encountered 3 one-pointers and threw explosive discs at them. Suddenly, 5 two-pointers appeared behind him, and he used his wingdings to disable their arms before finishing them off with his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬 sticks. Noticing a group of 23 pointers, he twirled his sticks and charged at them. In the teacher's box, Nizu remarked on the promising students this year, while Aizawa agreed that they would likely become great heroes. Midnight pointed out the green-haired boy, and they all turned to see Izuku battling the robots with his wingdings and 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬 sticks. Cementos questioned why he wasn't using his quirk, and All Might recognized him from a previous incident involving a slime villain. Present Mic shared that the boy's name was Izuku Midoriya and noted that he was quirkless. Aizawa wondered why a quirkless student was taking the test, while All Might recalled that Izuku's parents had been murdered in an alleyway. As they watched, Midnight commented on Izuku's fighting skills, expressing curiosity about his abilities. Aizawa pressed a button, eager to see how Izuku would handle the challenge. Back with Izuku, after defeating the 3 pointers, he felt confident he had enough points. While surveying the scene, the ground began to tremble. Turning around, he spotted a giant 0-pointer, and everyone around him started to flee. Just then, he heard Ochako's voice calling for help. She was trapped under some rubble and unable to move. Seeing no one else coming to her aid, Izuku rushed in to assist her. He assured Ochako that he would get her out. Using a technique, he combined his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐃 sticks into a staff and wedged it into the rubble to create an opening. As she crawled free, he scooped her up and ran away. Realizing they couldn't outrun the 0-pointer, he grabbed his grapple gun, aimed for a nearby building and fired. The grapple secured its hold, and he pulled the trigger again, launching them to the roof. Once they landed, he placed Ochako in a safe spot and instructed her to stay there. Determined to confront the 0-pointer, Izuku leaped onto its hand and ran up to its shoulder. Observers questioned his actions, noting that the 0-pointer was worth no points. The blue-haired boy realized that Izuku had saved Ochako, which meant there were secret points in the exam. Izuku climbed to the top of the 0-pointer's head using his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐃 sticks for balance. He opened a compartment on his sticks, revealing a taser capable of delivering 50,000 volts. He plunged it into the top of the 0-pointer's head, causing it to shut down and remain still. Standing atop the robot, he looked down at the spectators just as Present Mic announced that time was up. In the teacher's box, Nizu applauded while the other heroes were left in shock. Ectoplasm remarked on Izuku's exceptional skills, and Midnight expressed her admiration. All Might praised him for his bravery in saving Ochako, while Aizawa acknowledged that he would likely be accepted into UA. Returning to the roof where Ochako was waiting, she attempted to stand but stumbled. Izuku caught her just in time, noticing tears in her eyes. She questioned why he would take such a risk, knowing he was quirkless and could have been harmed. He comforted her, wiping her tears and expressing that he cared about her well-being. They shared a brief hug, both realizing the moment's significance before he carried her back to the ground and took her to Recovery Girl. After bidding her farewell, he left to prepare for his driver's test. Upon returning home, Izuku felt a smile spread across his face. He had passed his driver's test and received his license. Entering the kitchen, he noticed an envelope addressed to him from 𝐼𝐻𝐻. The letter expressed heartfelt sentiments. 𝐼𝐻𝐻 acknowledged Izuku's achievement and mentioned that he had repaired the bike, understanding how much it meant to him. He conveyed a sense of paternal care, reminiscing about the loss of Izuku's parents and expressing hope to see him in a UA uniform soon, recognizing him as both a hero to his parents and to 𝐼𝐻𝐻 himself. Tears welled in Izuku's eyes as he reflected on the fatherly role 𝐼𝐻𝐻 had played in his life. Just then, a knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. It was the mailman delivering another letter. After thanking him, Izuku hurried to his room, eager to see that it was from UA. He opened it to find a video message from 𝐼𝐻𝐻. In the recording, 𝐼𝐻𝐻 congratulated Izuku on passing the exam with an impressive score of 99 points. He also informed him that he had earned additional rescue points for saving 𝗟𝗟𝐼𝐻𝐻, bringing his total to 150 points. 𝐼𝐻𝐻's enthusiasm filled the room as he encouraged Izuku, reminding him that this was his journey in Hero Academia. As the message concluded, Izuku picked up a picture frame containing a photo of his parents. He spoke to them, expressing his determination to make them proud and to take the next step toward becoming the first Quirkless hero. The scene shifted to Izuku wearing his UA uniform paired with his signature red shoes. He was busy packing his gadgets, including his wingdings and 𝗟𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗓, as he had submitted his other set for his hero costume. After leaving his room, he retrieved the keys to his motorcycle, excited to see the upgrades 𝐼𝐻𝐻 had made, including a new color scheme and 2 modes, one resembling a standard motorcycle. In the Midoriya household, Inko and Hisashi were seated in the kitchen. Hisashi was engrossed in his newspaper while Inko tidied up the dishes from dinner. Suddenly, a 6-year-old Izuku dashed around, filled with excitement. He wore an all-might jacket with the hood up, paired with jeans and his signature red shoes. Hisashi looked up and acknowledged his son's enthusiasm, while Izuku declared his heroic intentions, ready to catch the bad guys. After some time, Izuku donned his gauntlets and began training. 𝐼𝐻𝐻 swung his sword at him, and Izuku skillfully defended himself with the gauntlets. As 𝐼𝐻𝐻 raised his sword high and brought it down, Izuku swiftly crossed his arms in an X shape, sweeping 𝐼𝐻𝐻 off his feet and positioning his forearm near 𝐼𝐻𝐻's neck, demonstrating his control without causing harm. 𝐼𝐻𝐻 complimented Izuku on his technique, and after practice, Izuku retreated to his room. He closed the door and approached his desk, where he was working on a unique design for a ninja star. Inspired by 𝐼𝐻𝐻's teachings from when he was 10, Izuku had developed his own tricks and designs, creating a special version he named Wingdings. 𝐼𝐻𝐻 had also instructed him in various weapons and defensive techniques, but Izuku's favorite remained the 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐽 sticks. The next day, Ochako bid farewell, and Izuku responded with a smile, feeling a sense of camaraderie. 7 months of training had led them to the entrance exams. However, a surprise awaited him. Todoroki and Momo had received recommendations for UA and would not be taking the exam. It was now up to Izuku, Ochako, Kirishima, and Mina to succeed. In secret, Izuku had been strengthening himself by cleaning up Dagobah Beach, which had been neglected for some time. As he was leaving, he spotted something intriguing in a pile of trash. He hopped on his motorcycle and rode to UA, where he encountered Principal Nizu at the entrance. Nizu greeted him warmly, and Izuku presented his driver's license, inquiring about parking. Nizu provided him with a pass for the teacher's parking space. After parking, Izuku entered the building, where whispers about him filled the air. Some students recognized him as the quirkless boy who had defeated the zero-pointer, while others commented on his appearance. Upon finding his classroom, Class 1A, Izuku hoped to avoid Kaken and the blue-haired student, but fate had other plans. The blue-haired student instructed him to remove his feet from the desk, and Kaken made a snide remark. As he entered, he was greeted by Mina, Kirishima, Shoto, and Momo, who welcomed him enthusiastically. Kirishima noted a change in his hair color, and they exchanged pleasantries. Mina mentioned a rumor that Izuku had topped the board, and Momo congratulated him. Just then, 𝐿𝐬 hugged him tightly, expressing her joy at his presence. The blue-haired student introduced himself as 𝐼𝐮𝐬 and apologized for his earlier behavior. Izuku reassured him that it was all right, acknowledging that everyone makes mistakes. Aizawa then entered, warning them that if they were there to make friends, they should leave. Izuku recognized Aizawa as the eraser hero, which surprised everyone, including Aizawa himself. He instructed them to put on their gear and meet him outside for a quirk test. 𝐿𝐬 expressed concern about missing the ceremony, but Izuku believed Aizawa wanted to assess their strength. Aizawa challenged Izuku to demonstrate his abilities by throwing a ball. With his friends watching, Kirishima wondered how Izuku would perform without a quirk, while Momo and Shoto voiced their support. Izuku threw the ball, achieving a distance of 100 meters. A blonde-haired student, Kaminari, questioned why Izuku hadn't used a quirk, to which Izuku revealed he was quirkless. Aizawa suggested Izuku utilize his gadgets, and Izuku complied. He threw the second ball, enhancing it with an explosive wingding that propelled it even further, achieving a distance of 800 meters. After a brief time skip, Izuku waited for the other students in the classroom, reflecting on his parents. His thoughts were interrupted when 𝐾𝐿 confronted him, questioning how he had made it into UA. The other students gathered, listening intently. J.𝐼𝐬 urged 𝐾𝐿 to calm down, but 𝐾𝐿 dismissed her. 𝐿𝐬 defended Izuku, and Izuku stood up for her, explaining that he had made a promise to his parents. 𝐾𝐿 cruelly taunted him about his parents, causing Izuku to look down in distress, his hair shielding his eyes. Kirishima and Shoto stepped in front of Izuku, confronting 𝐾𝐿. Izuku, determined, moved forward and swiftly took 𝐾𝐿 down, demonstrating his strength and asserting that he would not tolerate any disrespect towards his parents. After class, Izuku headed to the parking area, where his friends called out to him. They checked on him, and he assured them he was fine. Kirishima and Shoto offered their support, and Izuku revealed that he had driven to school, surprising them with the news of his driver's license. Momo and Mina expressed their excitement, asking to see his motorcycle. Izuku proudly showed them his ride, feeling a sense of accomplishment and camaraderie with his friends. Kirishima expressed his admiration for the display of masculinity, while Shoto inquired about the cost of the item. Izuku revealed that he had salvaged it after someone discarded it and had made repairs. 𝐿𝐬 was impressed by this, and Izuku mentioned he would see everyone the next day. The group bid farewell to Izuku, with Mina teasing 𝐿𝐬 about her blush. 𝐿𝐬 lamented her recurring embarrassment, prompting Momo to suggest that she confess her feelings to Izuku the following day. Curious about their plans, 𝐿𝐬 wondered what they would do. The next day, Izuku rode his motorcycle to school, using his pass. This time, other students noticed him and watched in awe as he walked to class. The day unfolded normally, except for Present Mick's attempts to entertain them in English. When it was time for their heroics lesson, All Might made a grand entrance, announcing himself with enthusiasm. The students were thrilled to have him as their teacher, and he informed them that they would be engaging in combat training. With excitement building, All Might pressed a button, revealing suitcases on the wall containing their hero costumes. He instructed them to wear their costumes and meet him at the battle arena. As they grabbed their cases and headed to the locker room, Kirishima complimented Izuku on the outfit he had designed, which matched his expectations perfectly. Shoto agreed, expressing satisfaction with his own costume. Izuku felt curious about how the girls felt about their outfits. In the girls' locker room, Mina expressed her gratitude to Izuku for submitting her costume as she had envisioned. Momo suggested they thank him on the battlefield, while Tsuyu clarified that Izuku had drawn and described their costumes for 𝐿𝐻𝐵. 𝐿𝐬 admitted she planned to confess her feelings to Izuku after the training. Mina wished her luck, and 𝐿𝐬 thanked her. At the battlefield, All Might expressed his pleasure at seeing everyone in their fantastic costumes. As the students gathered, Kirishima greeted the girls, while Shoto admired Momo's costume in his thoughts. Mina noticed Izuku's absence, and Momo confirmed he was nowhere to be found. Shoto recalled that they had just been thanking him for the costumes before he vanished. Suddenly, Izuku made a dramatic entrance, performing a front flip in his hero costume, leaving everyone in awe. 𝐿𝐻𝐿 complimented Izuku on his costume, and he returned the compliment, asking how the girls felt about theirs. Momo responded positively, while 𝐻𝐿 admitted to feeling a bit embarrassed about her skin-tight suit, which was not her usual style. Just then, Minato made an inappropriate comment, causing 𝐻𝐿 to blush even more. Izuku quickly defended her, telling Minato to be quiet, and reassured 𝐻𝐿 that she could be a great hero in her costume. She thanked him for his support. All Might explained the objective of their training exercise. One team would be heroes, and the other would be villains. The villains needed to protect a bomb from the heroes, and if the heroes touched it, they would win. All Might then announced the first teams, with Team A as the heroes and Team D as the villains. The rest of the students followed him to the observation room to watch the fight. 𝐻𝐿 asked Izuku if he was excited, but he sighed, expressing concern for her safety, knowing 𝗏𝐿 would likely target him. 𝐻𝐿 reassured him that she would have his back, no matter what happened. Izuku thanked her and his friends for their support. All Might signaled for the hero team to enter the building, and Izuku instructed 𝐻𝐿 to hold on to him as they used his grapple gun to enter through a window. As they searched for the weapon, 𝗏𝐿 attempted a sneak attack, but Izuku stepped in front of 𝐻𝐿 to take the hit. When the smoke cleared, he stood unharmed, revealing that his armor was resistant to 𝗏𝐿's quirk. He instructed 𝐻𝐿 to find the weapon while he dealt with 𝗏𝐿. In the observation room, Kirishima and Jiraiya were impressed by Izuku's resilience, while Aoyama noted that 𝐻𝐿 was going for the weapon. Back in the battle, as 𝗏𝐿 charged at Izuku, he pulled out his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐲 sticks and jumped over him, landing a hit. 𝗏𝐿 retaliated with a kick, which Izuku blocked before activating the taser mode on his sticks and shocking 𝗏𝐿. The observation room erupted in surprise at the display of power. After 𝗏𝐿 was stunned, Izuku blended into the shadows, communicating with 𝐻𝐿 about the weapon's location. She informed him that it was on the 5th floor, guarded by Ida. Izuku decided he could leave 𝗏𝐿 behind. Suddenly, 𝗏𝐿 appeared, revealing his gauntlets and the explosive power they held. He taunted Izuku, who stood ready to face the challenge. In the observation room, Kirishima expressed concern for Izuku's safety, while Mina feared 𝗏𝐿 would seriously hurt him. All Might warned 𝗏𝐿 that he could seriously injure Izuku, but 𝗏𝐿 dismissed the concern, confident in his abilities. Izuku, determined, stood firm and challenged 𝗏𝐿 to take his best shot. As 𝗏𝐿 pulled the trigger, Izuku activated his technology, redirecting the explosion away from himself and towards Ida and 𝗻𝐿. Izuku noticed how close 𝗻𝐿 was to him, and they both turned a shade of red. She expressed her curiosity about the gadgets and surprises around them. Izuku reassured her that it was fine and that he shouldn't keep secrets from his girlfriend and friends. 𝗻𝐿, feeling shy, covered her cheeks to hide her blush. He found her adorable in that moment, and she questioned why he liked to tease her. As they entered the classroom and settled down, Mr. Aizawa began discussing their combat training. He acknowledged that most students performed excellently but pointed out some areas for improvement. 𝗏𝐿 needed to manage his temper, Todoroki had to be cautious with his freezing abilities, and Minato was reminded to stop his inappropriate behavior. Aizawa highlighted that Midoriya had impressed him the most. The class was taken aback, wondering how a quirkless student like Izuku could excel in combat training. Aizawa praised his strategic thinking and planning. Izuku expressed his gratitude, albeit hesitantly. Aizawa then announced that today's task would determine their future, leading the class to speculate whether it was another quirk test. They learned they needed to select a class representative. Excitement filled the room as everyone raised their hands to volunteer. In a typical school, being a class rep might seem like just extra work, but at UA, it was a chance to demonstrate leadership skills and attract the attention of heroes. Tenya called for order, suggesting they hold an election, which made the class suspect he wanted them to vote for him. As the voting commenced, Izuku chose to vote for his friend Momo, believing she would excel in the role. He wished to be class rep himself but doubted anyone would vote for him due to his lack of a quirk. To his surprise, he received 5 votes while Momo garnered 2. 𝗏𝐿, frustrated, demanded to know who voted for Izuku, and 𝗟𝐿 questioned the logic behind it. Aizawa then declared Izuku as the class representative with Momo as the deputy. Izuku promised to do his best in his new role. After the voting, it was time for lunch. He sat with his friends, who were soon joined by 𝐶𝐬 and Tokoyami. Curious about their votes, he learned they believed in his ability to lead based on his performance in combat training. Ochako mentioned how he had guided her during the exercise, and Mina suggested they could form a team after graduation. Izuku inquired about Tenya's family, discovering that his older brother was the pro hero Ingenium. Tenya was impressed by Izuku's deduction skills, and Todoroki jokingly referred to him as the world's greatest detective. Kirishima recounted a time when Izuku figured out a cat had sneaked into his house, which everyone agreed was true. Suddenly, an alarm blared, causing panic in the cafeteria. Izuku noticed Ochako getting bumped and rushed to protect her. Kirishima and Momo expressed their confusion about the situation. Izuku had an idea and grabbed his backpack, pulling out his equipment to scan the area. He discovered that reporters had entered the building. Requesting a microphone from Momo, he used a grapple gun to elevate himself and address the crowd, urging them to calm down and informing them that there was no villain attack, just reporters causing chaos. After returning to the ground, he packed up his gear and suggested they head back to class. As they waited for everyone to settle down, Izuku pondered how the reporters had gained entry. Aizawa commended him for his quick thinking and announced that class was dismissed, reminding them to prepare for the next day's hero training. As Aizawa settled into his sleeping bag, Izuku left to investigate the breach, discovering that the wall had been disintegrated. Realizing that a villain must have been involved, he decided to return to his friends, who were likely worried about him. On his way, he accidentally bumped into someone and was embarrassed to find it was Midnight. She recognized him as the Quirkless student from UA and asked what he was doing there. Izuku explained his investigation and shared his theory about the disintegrated wall. Midnight took his findings seriously and thanked him for the information. After their conversation, Izuku returned to his friends, who were eager to know where he had been. He reassured them that he was fine and had been investigating the reporter's entry. He expressed concern that villains might be behind the incident and mentioned he had already informed Midnight. As he left, he began to strategize about the gadgets he would prepare for the next day. Meanwhile, in another location, a figure confirmed that everything was ready, with Shigaraki ominously declaring that the symbol of peace would fall the following day. Izuku spent the evening crafting new gadgets, including tasers, tear gas, smoke pellets, bolas, and tracers, preparing for whatever challenges lay ahead. As everything was packed, Izuku drove to school. Upon arrival, the class gathered around Aizawa, eager to learn about the day's activities. Aizawa informed them that they would be participating in rescue training at a designated location, instructing everyone to grab their hero costumes and wait outside. Kirishima expressed his excitement about the rescue training, while 𝐶𝐬 eagerly anticipated showcasing her aquatic skills. Izuku felt relieved that he had come prepared for the day ahead. After changing into their costumes, the class stepped outside, where they noticed Izuku's motorcycle parked nearby. The other students gazed at it in admiration, curious about its presence. Momo asked Izuku why his vehicle was there, to which he explained that his motorcycle could be useful during rescue scenarios. Kirishima, intrigued, inquired how it could assist them. In response, Izuku pressed a button on his keys, triggering a transformation in his motorcycle, revealing its second form. Izuku urged Ochako to hold on to something. After the explosion, a hole appeared in the ceiling, and she used her grapple gun to ascend to the next floor, where she set a net to trap Ida. As she worked, she noticed Bakugo soaring toward them, preparing to unleash another explosion. Izuku called out to 𝗟𝗏 to touch the weapon. Just as she was about to reach for it, Bakugo struck with a powerful explosion. In the aftermath, All Might declared that the hero team had won. Ochako celebrated their victory but then noticed Izuku lying on the floor, unconscious, alongside Bakugo, who was also battered and out cold. Overwhelmed, she fell to her knees as Ida freed himself from the net and carried their bodies to Recovery Girl. Time passed, and Izuku awoke in a bed at Recovery Girl's office. She greeted him, noting his strength despite being quirkless, and told him he could return to class. As he walked back to Class 1A and opened the door, everyone rushed to greet him. Kirishima welcomed him back, while 𝗟𝗏 expressed disbelief at how Izuku held his own against Bakugo, who was known for his strength. Mina praised his dodging skills, and Momo reminded him to take care of himself. Izuku then asked if anyone knew where 𝐿𝐻𝐿 was. Shoto inquired why he wanted to see her, and Izuku admitted he had developed feelings for her and hoped to confess that day. Mina excitedly confirmed that they both liked each other, and 𝐒𝐮𝐬 mentioned that 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 was on her way back. Kaminari asked what 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 liked to eat, and she responded with a suggestion before rushing to Izuku after turning down Denki. Izuku greeted her, and 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 expressed concern about his condition after the fight with Bakugo. He reassured her that he was fine and requested to speak with her privately. They stepped out of the classroom, both feeling nervous. They stumbled over their words, each wanting to speak first, causing them to blush. Izuku finally took the lead, telling 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 that ever since he saved her from falling he had developed feelings for her. 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 revealed that she felt the same way, acknowledging his kindness in her life. However, she couldn't finish her thought as Izuku leaned in closer, and they shared a kiss. Izuku confessed his love, and they kissed again, this time for longer. He asked if this meant they were officially together, and 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 happily agreed. They had finally confessed their feelings for each other, leaving Izuku wondering what the next day would bring. Meanwhile, in another location, someone asked Shigaraki if he was ready, to which he affirmed his readiness. After finishing his breakfast, Izuku brushed his teeth and grabbed the keys to his motorcycle. Stepping outside, he spotted 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿. She greeted him, asking if he was ready for school. Izuku confirmed he was, guessing she wanted to ride with him on his motorcycle. She eagerly agreed, hopping onto the back. Her excitement was contagious, and as they rode to school, she hugged him tightly, thrilled by the experience. Upon arriving, they were met with a crowd of reporters blocking the entrance. 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 wondered why there were so many, and Izuku speculated that they must have heard the news about All Might working there. He then revealed his plan to get inside. Curious, 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 asked what his idea was. Izuku pressed a button on his keys, transforming his motorcycle into a different mode. Surprised, 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 asked when his motorcycle could do that. Izuku explained that Gunhead had installed the feature. They skillfully avoided the reporters, and Izuku drove straight toward the wall. Instead of crashing, he soared over it, landing safely in the parking area as the motorcycle reverted to its normal state. 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 looked at him, intrigued, and asked if there was anything else he was hiding from them. The entire class stared in awe at Izuku's motorcycle. Kirishima expressed his surprise, wondering why Izuku hadn't shared this information with them. 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 chimed in, revealing that she was already aware, while Mina urged Izuku to stop keeping secrets. Izuku defended himself, stating that he didn't need to share everything. After a brief time skip, they arrived at the training area and were greeted by the space hero. 𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 was thrilled, declaring that 𝗟𝗏 was her favorite hero. 𝗟𝗏 welcomed them and explained that they would practice rescuing citizens in what she called the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or USJ for short. Class 1A made a light-hearted comparison to Universal Studios Japan. 𝗟𝗏 then inquired about All Might's whereabouts, to which Aizawa replied that All Might had some business to attend to at UA but might arrive later. As they entered the building, Izuku took in the surroundings, noticing various zones including a shipwreck area, a fire zone, and a city zone. Suddenly, a portal opened in the middle of the area, and a group of villains emerged. Izuku's instincts kicked in, recognizing the threat. Kirishima was amazed that they would be fighting fake villains, but Izuku clarified that these were real threats. Aizawa quickly instructed everyone to retreat, while urging 𝗟𝗏 to protect the students. Before Aizawa could act, Izuku rushed past him, heading straight for the villains. Class 1A called out to him, but he was focused on the fight. One villain with guns for hands aimed at him, prompting Izuku to leap over him and strike with his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 stick. Another villain approached, and Izuku swiftly swept him off his feet with his other 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷. He then turned to Iida, urging him to return to UA to get help. Iida hesitated, unwilling to leave them behind, but Izuku insisted that staying would put them all in danger. Just as Iida was about to leave, a mist villain blocked their exit. 𝐾𝐿 declared that they weren't going anywhere. Izuku called out to Kirishima and Bakugo, advising them to target the villain's metal parts, which might be his only vulnerable spot. They complied, and their attack proved effective, allowing Ida to slip past for backup. Kurojirai informed Shigaraki that one of the kids had escaped, but Shigaraki dismissed the concern, ordering them to separate the students and retrieve the weapon. As one villain attempted to sneak up on Izuku, Aizawa intervened, kicking the villain away and landing beside him. Aizawa admonished Izuku for recklessly jumping into battle, but Izuku explained that he sensed something was off and needed to buy time for Ida to get help. Aizawa reluctantly acknowledged that it was a good plan. They soon encountered the Mist villain again, who teleported everyone to different areas within the 𝐻𝐬, while some students managed to avoid being separated. Aizawa cursed their separation, and Izuku reassured him that he would find their classmates. When Aizawa questioned how he would do that, Izuku revealed that he had placed tracers on them when they weren't looking. Aizawa commended his cleverness and stealth. Izuku activated a device from his belt to locate everyone. He first found Momo, Jiru, and Denki, who had landed together in one area. A villain was about to sneak up on Momo, so Izuku jumped down and used his taser to incapacitate the threat. Momo greeted him with relief, and Jiru asked what their plan was. Denki noted that this situation was different from their combat training. Izuku encouraged them, stating that while these were real villains, they had a chance to prove their capabilities as heroes. He instructed them to head for the entrance of the 𝐻𝐬 once the villains were down, emphasizing that they needed to stick together. As he continued searching and helping his classmates reach the entrance, Izuku noticed the Mist villain bringing something out of the portal, a giant bird-like creature. He was taken aback, questioning what it could be. Just then, Aizawa rushed in to confront the creature, buying Izuku time to gather the remaining classmates. He made his way to the water area, where he found Tsuyu and Mineta. Tsuyu called out to him, and he urged them to head to the entrance. As they ran, Izuku turned in shock to see Aizawa injured and lying in a puddle of blood, attacked by the creature. Shigaraki introduced the creature as the anti-symbol of peace, Nomu. As Nomu prepared to grab Aizawa, Izuku activated his motorcycle, which crashed onto the scene, distracting Nomu as it fired bullets. Seizing the opportunity, Izuku used his grapple gun to pull Aizawa to safety and carried him back to their classmates, who were horrified to see their teacher in pain. Izuku reassured them that Aizawa would be fine and called for Momo to fetch a medkit quickly. Shoto asked where Izuku was going, and he declared that he would confront the Nomu. Ochako warned him that it was a reckless move, but Izuku insisted he needed their help. He called on Kirishima, Shoto, and Bakugo to join him while instructing the others to stay behind. As they prepared to face the Nomu, Izuku noticed its weak spot, an exposed brain. He directed Shoto to freeze its legs while Kirishima and Bakugo used their powers to hold it steady. Shoto complied, freezing the Nomu's legs, while Bakugo maintained his grip, ready to unleash his quirk if the creature moved. Kirishima joined in to help restrain Nomu. When the creature's head was lowered, Izuku took his chance, using his 𝐒𝐮𝐬 stick to deliver a powerful electric shock to its brain, causing it to cry out in pain. Just then, the door exploded, and All Might burst onto the scene, announcing his arrival. He leaped toward them, impressed by their efforts. However, Izuku noticed that Nomu was beginning to rise again. An idea sparked in his mind, and he proposed to All Might that they deliver the final blow together. All Might agreed, and with Izuku's glove glowing blue, reminiscent of their combat training, they prepared to strike as Nomu lunged at them. Together, they shouted their rallying cry, sending the Nomu flying across the 𝐻𝐬. Exhausted from the effort, they heard Ida's voice calling out that he had brought reinforcements. Izuku turned to see all the heroes arriving to assist. Izuku noticed the intimidating look on his classmate's face but felt surprisingly unfazed. He turned to Ochako, curious about her unusual demeanor. Mina chimed in, acknowledging that Ochako was the most relaxed person she knew. Ochako declared her determination to do her best, prompting half the class to cheer in support. As they prepared to leave for lunch, they encountered students from other classes blocking their way. Izuku questioned their presence, while Kirishima speculated that they had heard about the recent events at 𝐻𝐬. Monoma, from Class 1B, dismissed Class 1A as unimpressive, calling them a bunch of losers. 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐬 reacted angrily, ready to confront Monoma. 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗏 introduced himself and boldly stated that Class 1B would triumph in the upcoming sports festival. Izuku attempted to defuse the situation, asking them to move aside so they could have lunch. Setsuna, another student, recognized Izuku as the quirkless boy and remarked on his strength in battling villains, poking him playfully in the chest. Izuku felt a blush creep onto his cheeks. Shoto intervened, urging the other students to leave so they could eat. Monoma, however, insisted on sticking around to mock them further. Izuku defended his class, asserting that they were not losers, but he was frustrated by Monoma's taunts. In a moment of defiance, he grabbed a taser and shocked Monoma, challenging anyone else to step forward. The other students quickly parted, allowing Izuku and his friends to pass. As they settled down for lunch, Izuku had a question for 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐬. He asked her why she wanted to become a hero. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐬 candidly admitted it was for money, wanting to help her parents. Izuku, impressed, explained that he had noticed her parents' struggles and understood her motivation. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐬 was taken aback by his insight, and Izuku promised to support her during the sports festival. On the day of the sports festival, Izuku spotted Shoto approaching him. Shoto declared that he was declaring war on Izuku, which puzzled him. Shoto couldn't explain his reasoning, but Izuku empathized, knowing Shoto wanted to prove himself to his father. Kirishima reminded them that they were best friends and would support each other. Ida urged everyone to focus and get ready. As they walked, Present Mike announced their names, and the other classes joined them, marking the start of the festival. Midnight took the stage, and while most of the boys blushed at her outfit, Minato was particularly enamored. Midnight introduced Izuku and 𝐵𝐵𝐸 as representatives of the freshmen. 𝐵𝐵𝐸 declared his intent to win, only to be met with boos from the crowd. Izuku encouraged everyone to ignore 𝐵𝐵𝐸 and focus on showing their potential as the next generation of heroes, earning cheers from his classmates. Midnight explained the first challenge, a race where only 42 students would qualify for the next round. Izuku anticipated that Todoroki would use his ice quirk to block others, making the race more challenging. He asked Midnight if he could use his gadgets, to which she agreed, advising him to be cautious. As the race began, Izuku activated his motorcycle, performing a backflip onto it as he sped into the tunnel. He maneuvered skillfully, impressing his classmates. Mei expressed her admiration for his motorcycle design. After exiting the tunnel, Izuku caught up with Todoroki, but they soon encountered a few zero-pointers from the entrance exam. They prepared for battle, and Izuku utilized his gadgets effectively, grabbing a large metal piece for protection. Once past the zero-pointers, Izuku dismounted and sent his motorcycle ahead while he ran and used his grapple gun to swing across the next obstacle. The third stage presented a field of mines, and Izuku devised a plan using the metal piece to gather the mines. As Shoto and 𝐵𝐵𝐸 raced ahead, Izuku launched himself onto the mines, causing a spectacular explosion that propelled him forward. He crossed the finish line first, exhilarated by his victory. The crowd erupted in cheers as he saw Shoto take second place and 𝐵𝐵𝐸 claim third. The rest of the competitors followed, with Todoroki visibly frustrated at Minato for clinging to Momo. As they took a break, Izuku sensed something was amiss. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 complimented him on achieving first place, and he expressed his gratitude. Kirishima noticed that Izuku didn't seem particularly happy and asked if everything was all right. Izuku shared his unease about being the target of attention that came with first place. Midnight then announced the start of the cavalry battle, explaining the rules. Teams of 4 would compete to steal points from one another. Each student would earn points based on their rank, with first place holding a staggering 1 million points. Everyone's gaze turned toward Izuku, recognizing him as the prime target. He reassured them that he wasn't worried, they should be the ones concerned. Midnight instructed the students to form their teams. Initially, no one approached Izuku due to his status as a target, but that changed when 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 offered to team up with him. Grateful, Izuku expressed his relief at not having to go solo. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 insisted that just because he had a lot of points didn't mean she would avoid him. They needed 2 more members, and Mei approached, eager to join after being impressed by Izuku's gadgets. He learned her name and that she was from the support department. With one more teammate needed, Izuku approached 𝗏𝐼𝐻𝐬, who agreed to join their team. Once their team was formed, the cavalry battle commenced. Immediately, everyone charged at them, a predictable move. Anticipating this, Izuku had given Ochako, Mei, and 𝗏𝐼𝐻𝐬 soundproof pods to wear. As the other teams rushed toward them, Izuku activated his gadgets, creating an ultrasonic sound that caused everyone except his team to cover their ears. This distraction allowed them to snatch headbands from their opponents. When they targeted Todoroki, Izuku noticed 𝐾𝐿 had destroyed one of his gadgets to stop the noise. Once the chaos subsided, the other teams realized their headbands were gone. 𝐾𝐿 managed to grab one from Izuku, but it wasn't the one worth 1,000,000 points. Eventually, the cavalry battle concluded with Izuku's team emerging victorious, Todoroki's team in second place, 𝐾𝐿's team in third, and Team 𝗏𝗏𝗏 finishing fourth. After the battle, Todoroki wanted to speak with Izuku, so he followed him into a hallway. Todoroki opened up about his father and the abuse he endured. Izuku recalled how Todoroki had shared this story since childhood and questioned why his father had subjected him to such treatment. Todoroki explained that his ice quirk came from his mother, and his father had only wanted a powerful offspring to defeat All Might, rejecting all his siblings until he focused on Todoroki. Izuku expressed his anger over what Todoroki had suffered, reassuring him that he had friends who cared. He admitted that he wasn't afraid of Todoroki's burn mark, which he assumed was caused by his father. However, Todoroki clarified that the mark was actually from his mother. Surprised, Izuku learned that she had always cared for him and had once tried to take him away from their father. Tragically, during a heated moment, she had accidentally burned Todoroki's left eye, and he blamed his father for the incident. Izuku encouraged Todoroki to appreciate the love he still had and suggested that after the festival he should visit his mother. Grateful for Izuku's support, Todoroki thanked him. Izuku reassured him that he would always be there for him. As they returned, they were greeted by the sight of the girls in cheerleader outfits. Izuku felt a smile spread across his face as he saw his friends gathered around him. Iida had finally arrived, and Kurogiri urged Shigaraki to retreat. Shigaraki reluctantly agreed, declaring that this was not the end. He warned All Might that his time would come, and he questioned the boy in black armor about his quirk, expressing disbelief at how he had defeated Nomu, a foe on par with All Might. Izuku, standing firm, replied that his abilities were classified. He expressed his anger at the villains for their attempts to harm his friends and teachers, vowing to be ready if they ever returned to cause more trouble. As the villains escaped, the heroes regrouped, and Ochako rushed to Izuku, enveloping him in a tight embrace. His classmates joined in, except for Bakugo, who remained distant. Ochako expressed her worry for Izuku, while Mina and Kirishima echoed her sentiments, urging him not to scare them like that. Shoto added that they didn't want to lose their best friend. Izuku reassured them that everything was all right now, and Principal Nedzu commended him for his bravery that day. Grateful, Izuku asked for permission to visit his parents, and after a moment of silence, Nedzu granted it. Pressing a button on his keys, Izuku summoned his motorcycle, transforming it back into its original mode. He rode to the cemetery, changing into his regular clothes and taking his guitar with him as he arrived at his parents' resting place. He greeted them, sharing the day's events and expressing his gratitude for their support. He mentioned how he had helped his friends during the attack and revealed that he and Ochako had started dating, wishing they could see how happy that made him. He promised to return soon and walked away, pondering what the future held. After the incident at USJ, school was cancelled for a week. Upon returning, Izuku found himself lost in thought, reflecting on Shigaraki. Kirishima approached him, praising his leadership during the battle. Shoto agreed, noting that they had made a wise choice in electing him as class representative. Sato added that while they had been scared, Izuku had shown remarkable bravery. Denki, despite acknowledging the recklessness of rushing in, found it impressive. Izuku admitted that he had been scared too, surprising his friends. He explained that he had acted to protect them, and although he had faced his fears, he regretted not being able to protect Mr. Aizawa. Ochako reassured him that the heroes had arrived in time and that Aizawa was recovering. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐻 noted that Izuku had inspired them to fight back as well. As they discussed the battle, the door opened to reveal Mr. Izuku, bandaged but alive. The class erupted in cheers, and Izuku joked about their luck in never having a substitute teacher. Izuku, though his expression was hidden, seemed to share in their laughter. He informed them that the sports festival was approaching, prompting excitement among the students. Izuku explained that the festival would feature 3 challenges, culminating in a quirk battle. He reminded them that they needed their parents to fill out a form. Izuku lowered his head, aware that his classmates knew about his parents' absence. Izuku addressed him directly, giving him the choice to participate or sit it out due to his quirkless status. Kirishima and Mina expressed their concern, not wanting to see their friend get hurt. After a moment of contemplation, Izuku lifted his head with determination, declaring that he would participate in the sports festival. Following class, they discussed strategies for the event, but Izuku sensed something was amiss. Ochako encouraged everyone to do their best in the upcoming competition. Izuku noticed the girls' unusual outfits and felt a blush creep onto his cheeks as he wondered why they were dressed that way. Ochako explained that they thought there would be a cheerleader battle, while Kirishima asked who had informed them of this. Mina revealed that it was Mineta and Kaminari who had shared the news. Shoto, also blushing, pointed out that they had been tricked so the boys could admire them. Izuku excused himself, and Kaminari laughed, while Mineta drooled over the girls, calling them hot. 𝐼RU expressed her frustration at the boys, declaring her dislike for them. Toru admitted she liked the outfits, and Momo regretted falling for Mineta's tricks, especially since she had used her quirk to create the costumes. Shoto reassured Momo that Izuku would seek revenge on the boys. Suddenly, Izuku appeared behind Mineta, brandishing one of his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽 sticks and delivering a powerful shock, sending Mineta sprawling. Kaminari gasped in surprise, and before Mineta could react further, Izuku swiftly threw him aside. Izuku warned the boys that if they ever tried to pull something inappropriate again, he would be coming after them. The girls of Class 1A thanked Izuku, and he turned his attention to the screen displaying the matchups. He saw that he would face a boy named 𝗏𝐿, Ochako would compete against 𝐵𝐵𝐸, Kirishima would go against 𝗏𝗏𝗏, Todoroki would battle 𝗟𝗏, Momo would face Tokoyami, and Mina would take on 𝐼𝐻𝐬. Izuku felt a wave of concern for Ochako, knowing 𝐵𝐵𝐸 would not hold back in the competition. As he prepared for his match, he realized that 𝗏𝐿 seemed to want him to talk, so he decided to remain silent. 𝗏𝐿 taunted Izuku, calling his friends pathetic and criticizing the girls for falling for the trick. Filled with rage, Izuku charged at 𝗏𝐿, using his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽 sticks to unbalance him. Midnight announced that 𝗏𝐿 was out of balance, declaring Izuku the winner. As the matches continued, Kirishima and 𝗏𝗏𝗏 ended in a tie, but Kirishima ultimately triumphed in an arm wrestling match. Momo felt disheartened after losing to Tokoyami, and Todoroki went to comfort her. When it was Ochako's turn to fight, Izuku was amazed by her determination, but she eventually lost, prompting him to check on her. Izuku remarked on the intensity of the match, and Ochako reminded him that his match with Todoroki was next. He expressed his concern for her well-being, and she wished him good luck. As he walked away, he sensed something was wrong when he overheard Ochako on the phone with her father, her voice trembling with emotion. Izuku rushed back to her side, asking what was troubling her. Ochako, surprised to see him, confessed that she felt like she had let her parents down. She worried about how she could provide them with the life they deserved if she couldn't defeat her classmates, feeling worthless in the process. Izuku enveloped her in a tight hug, surprising her even more. He reassured her that she was not worthless and had always been there for him. He encouraged her to believe in herself, emphasizing that it was not just about winning, but about giving her best effort. Ochako thanked him, and in a moment of gratitude, she kissed him softly, the kiss lingering for a brief moment. Realizing his match was about to start, Izuku said his goodbyes and headed off, feeling Ochako's support behind him. As he made his way to the arena, 𝗟𝗏𝐻 stepped in front of him, requesting a favor regarding his son. Izuku firmly stated that Todoroki was not a tool for 𝗟𝗏𝐻's ambitions, asserting that he wanted Todoroki to use his powers for himself, not for his father's glory. Leaving 𝗟𝗏𝐻 visibly frustrated, Izuku approached Todoroki, who was smiling. Izuku asked what was making him happy, and Todoroki explained that it was due to the earlier events. Earlier, Todoroki had checked on Momo, who was visibly upset after her loss. He encouraged her not to listen to what others said about her, reminding her of their goal to show they were the next generation of heroes. Momo appreciated his support and urged him to prepare for his upcoming match. As they exchanged words, Momo had one last thing to say, leaving Todoroki curious about what it could be. Momo suggested that it be taken as a good luck charm. Present Mic announced the start of the match, and Shoto prepared to face Midoriya. Midoriya assumed a fighting stance, ready for action. Shoto launched ice pillars at Midoriya, who responded by throwing one of his wingdings, causing an explosion that shattered the ice. This provided Midoriya with the opportunity to rush at Shoto and grab his 𝐒𝐮𝐬 sticks to attack. Shoto dodged the first strike but was hit by the second. He seized one of Midoriya's sticks and froze it, prompting Midoriya to release his grip as Shoto kicked him back. As Shoto sent another ice pillar flying, Midoriya dodged it and threw another wingding to destroy it. Midoriya challenged Shoto, questioning if that was truly his best effort. Shoto confidently asserted that he could defeat Midoriya without using his fire. The relentless barrage of ice pillars began to frustrate Midoriya. He pointed out that Shoto was holding back because he was quirkless. Shoto clarified that he was only trying to avoid hurting him. Midoriya expressed his determination, stating that he came to UA not only to make his parents proud but also to prove that those without quirks could be heroes. He was tired of quirkless individuals being sidelined and urged Shoto to give it his all. Shoto shot another ice pillar, and as Midoriya dodged, he felt a sharp pain in his arm but pushed through it. He leaped and kicked Shoto in the chest, enduring the damage from the ice pillars as he continued to fight. Shoto urged Midoriya to stop, insisting it was over and that he couldn't keep going. Midoriya refused to back down, challenging Shoto to unleash his full power. Shoto hesitated, caught off guard by Midoriya's intensity. Midoriya pressed him, insisting that Shoto should embrace his quirk for himself, not for anyone else. Shoto finally admitted that he wanted to be a hero. Suddenly, Shoto's frostbite disappeared as he ignited his flames, and Midoriya smiled, feeling proud to have helped him find his true self. Endeavor encouraged Shoto to use his newfound power to defeat Midoriya. Midoriya, feeling a mix of emotions, acknowledged Shoto's flames and declared that the real battle was just beginning. He activated a button on his belt, and advanced nanotechnology covered him, revealing a suit designed for those with strong quirks. The audience, including his friends and classmates, was astonished by this unexpected reveal. Midoriya had crafted this suit as his ultimate weapon for the festival, a secret he had kept even from Gunhead. As the battle resumed, Shoto appeared taken aback by Midoriya's transformation. Midoriya playfully questioned Shoto's surprise and urged him to continue. Shoto apologized and unleashed a massive blast of heat toward Midoriya, resulting in a tremendous explosion that sent a gust of wind through the arena. As the smoke cleared, Shoto searched for Midoriya, who had seemingly vanished. Present Mic announced the confusion, and the audience speculated about Midoriya's fate. Shoto, on his knees, expressed his concern, but then Midoriya reappeared, unharmed and still in his armor. Midoriya thanked Shoto, grabbed his arm, and threw him out of bounds. Present Mic declared that Izuku Midoriya was the winner. The crowd erupted in cheers as Midoriya's armor faded away, and he approached Shoto, offering assistance. Shoto accepted his help, still in disbelief about Midoriya's survival. Midoriya explained that his suit was made of a special material capable of withstanding extreme temperatures, allowing him to walk through the heat blast and appear behind Shoto. Shoto acknowledged Midoriya's strength and friendship, realizing he didn't need to worry about his back anymore. Midoriya reassured him that he still relied on his friends for support. The other battles were intense, with Midoriya noting that Tokoyami's quirk struggled in the light. As the final showdown approached, Midnight signaled the start of the next battle. Bakugo charged at Midoriya, determined to defeat him. Midoriya dodged Bakugo's attack and used his grapple gun to swing him off balance, quickly securing his victory. Present Mic announced that Izuku Midoriya, the quirkless hero, had won the 2019 sports festival. Midoriya received a medal from All Might, while 𝐼𝐵𝐸 and Tokoyami took second and third place, respectively. After the festival, Midoriya and his friends celebrated at a local burger joint, though Iida was absent due to a family matter. Earlier, 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐽 confronted 𝐼𝐮, warning him to stop. 𝐼𝐮 dismissed 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽 as just another false hero. Their fight escalated until 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽 was shot in the arm. A mysterious figure appeared, greeting 𝐼𝐮 and revealing that he had an offer for both of them while also being pursued by someone. 𝐼𝐮 recognized his old friend, 𝗟𝗱, who now went by Deathstroke. 𝗟𝗱 declared that they would return. As 𝐼𝐮 and Deathstroke departed, Red Hood contacted the heroes and took 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽 to the hospital. Red Hood reflected on Deathstroke's extensive experience, acknowledging that one day, someone with superior combat skills might defeat him. However, for now, someone needed to handle the hero killer. The story continued as Red Hood chose to walk to school instead of taking a ride. On the way, he noticed a few girls giggling and some kids expressing admiration for him. Since the sports festival, the students had begun to gain celebrity status. However, he had heard troubling news about Iida's brother, who had been paralyzed by the hero killer. Rumors circulated that he had nearly died but was saved by the outlaw vigilante, Red Hood. As Red Hood approached the school, Iida jogged past him. Iida greeted Midoriya, who asked about his brother. Iida responded that his brother was doing okay. Midoriya empathized, noting that at least Iida hadn't lost him. They agreed it was time to head to class. In class, the students discussed the fame they had gained from the sports festival. Kirishima shared that many people wanted his autograph, and Mina echoed the sentiment. Ochako inquired about Midoriya's experience, to which he replied that he had noticed girls giggling and winking at him on his way to school. Momo pointed out that it made sense since he was the winner of the festival. Shoto added that it was impressive he had defeated others despite being quirkless. Aizawa entered the room and instructed everyone to settle down, announcing that they would need to choose their internships. The class erupted in excitement at the mention of internships. Aizawa informed them that many offers had been made, and those without offers would need to select their own. Ochako expressed disbelief at receiving an offer, and Midoriya encouraged her, stating it was about showcasing effort. Momo then asked Midoriya about the number of offers he had received, to which he expressed surprise that pros wanted a quirkless person like him. Aizawa reminded them that they would also need to create their own hero names for the internships. The class cheered in response. Aizawa warned them that the names must be appropriate, or there would be consequences. Midnight chimed in, teasing that an inappropriate name could stick with them permanently. The boys blushed, while Todoroki and Midoriya remained unfazed, and Mineta appeared overly enthusiastic. As they began to write down their names, Midnight announced that they would present them, causing a wave of nervousness. Aoyama was the first to present his name, declaring himself, "The shining hero, I cannot stop twinkling." The class responded with a chorus of disapproval, prompting Midnight to suggest shortening it to "The shining hero, I can't." Aoyama found the adjustment stunning, and the students reacted positively. Mina was next, introducing her code name as Alien Queen. Midnight, however, compared it to a monstrous creature with acidic BLD and dismissed it. Frustrated, Mina felt the pressure to come up with something clever. Fu then stepped forward, stating she had a name since preschool, Rainy Season Hero 𝗏𝗏. Midnight praised the name, declaring it perfect and inspiring. The class erupted in cheers for 𝗏𝗏, celebrating her creativity and spirit. 𝗏𝗏 thought to herself, grateful that someone had chosen a normal hero name. Kirishima proudly announced his choice, calling himself Red Riot, a tribute to his idol, Crimson Riot. Midnight found it interesting and acknowledged the homage. Izuku reflected on Kirishima's choice, knowing he had always admired Crimson Riot since childhood. Kaminari struggled to come up with something cool, while J.I.R.U suggested the name Jamming Way. Kaminari liked the cleverness of it, but J.I.R.U teased him about his tendency to jam his thoughts. 𝗏𝗏 introduced himself as Cellophane, the taping hero, and Midnight appreciated the creativity. Momo expressed her hope to live up to her name, the everything hero, 𝗏𝗏. Koda simply stated his name, Anima, while Sato declared himself Sugar Man, the sweets hero. Mina excitedly shouted her name, Pinky, and Midnight praised the choice. Kaminari announced himself as 𝐼𝐴, the stun gun hero, which made Midnight feel a little tingly. Toru, the invisible girl, was encouraged by Midnight, who asked who would step up next. Shoto simply stated his name, and Midnight confirmed it was just that. Ojiro introduced himself as Tail Man, the martial arts hero, and Midnight acknowledged him. Tokoyami chose Tsukuyomi, the jet black hero, and Midnight noted the name's connection to the night. Mineta called himself Grape Juice, the fresh pick hero, which Midnight found catchy. Bakugo boldly declared himself King Explosion Murder, prompting Midnight to suggest a less violent name. Kirishima suggested Explosion Boy, and Bakugo retorted. Ochako shared her name, 𝗟𝗶𝐸, which Midnight loved. Ida had been contemplating his hero name, recalling his brother's wish for him to take the name Ingenium. In a flashback, Tensei urged Ida to promise to carry on his legacy, as he feared he would never walk again. Suddenly, a man in a red helmet and leather jacket entered, carrying guns. He introduced himself as Red Hood and acknowledged Tensei's strength, advising Ida to honor his brother's wish. Ida, curious, asked who had harmed Tensei. Red Hood hesitated, knowing the truth could put Ida in danger, and instead told him it was the hero killer, Stain, who had spared Tensei as a warning. Ida vowed to find the hero killer and bring him to justice, thanking Red Hood for the information. In the present, Ida felt conflicted about using his brother's name, knowing it was not yet time. Midnight noted that only Midoriya and Bakugo were left to reveal their names. Ida confirmed he was using his real name, and Midnight acknowledged that. Kirishima speculated about Midoriya's hero name, believing it would be impressive. Izuku finally revealed his choice, Nightwing. Midnight praised the name, and Shoto smiled in approval. Kirishima found it very manly, while Ochako admired it as well. Later, as Izuku and his friends prepared to leave, All Might appeared before them, announcing his arrival. He needed to speak with Izuku, and suddenly transformed into his true form. Izuku was surprised to learn about an internship opportunity from a retired pro hero named Gran Torino, who had once taught All Might at UA. Izuku recognized the significance of the offer but needed time to think. All Might understood his promise to his parents and encouraged him to take the opportunity. Izuku decided to accept the internship with Gran Torino, expressing gratitude to All Might for his guidance. As he joined his friends, he asked who they would choose for their internships. Shoto mentioned he would be choosing his father's internship, despite their complicated relationship. Kirishima excitedly shared that he would be interning with Fourth Kind, while Momo announced her choice of the snake hero, 𝗟𝗏𝐿. Ochako surprised everyone by saying she had received an offer from Gunhead. When asked about his own internship, Izuku playfully kept it a secret, eliciting playful frustration from his friends. As they arrived at the station, Izuku noticed Ida had chosen to intern in Hosu City, the same place where his brother had faced danger. Izuku reminded Ida to reach out if he needed help, emphasizing the importance of friendship. On his way to meet Gran Torino, Izuku imagined the retired hero living in an extraordinary place, only to find him in a modest apartment. Upon arrival, Izuku introduced himself, but was met with a humorous scene that suggested Gran Torino was not in danger. Gran Torino acknowledged Izuku's intelligence and hinted at his knowledge of One for All, recognizing that Izuku had not yet accepted the offer. The story continued, filled with anticipation for the challenges ahead. Inside, a fan was excited about having One for All. Gran Torino believed it was important to demonstrate that even those without quirks could become heroes. Izuku agreed, feeling determined to honor his promise. Gran Torino acknowledged Izuku's parents, recognizing their kindness and the pain of losing loved ones. Izuku, however, was focused on moving forward, leaving the past behind. Gran Torino suggested they spar to test Izuku's abilities as a quirkless hero. Izuku was eager to begin. Gran Torino thought to himself that Izuku reminded him of Toshinori. As Izuku donned his hero suit, he took out his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬 and assumed a fighting stance. As the training commenced, Gran Torino moved swiftly, darting around and landing hits on Izuku. Some strikes were dodged, but when Gran Torino approached from behind, Izuku turned to counter, only for 𝐼𝐼𝐼𝐻 to evade. However, Izuku anticipated his move and managed to strike back. 𝐼𝐼𝐻 acknowledged the effort, noting that Izuku's attempt was a bit stiff. Izuku responded with a hint of confidence, suggesting that 𝐼𝐼𝐻 was the one who needed to loosen up. With a twirl of his 𝐒𝐮𝐬 stick, Izuku landed a hit, prompting 𝐼𝐼𝐻 to commend him and instruct him to clean up the area while he went to fetch food. Meanwhile, in Hosu City, Manuel expressed disbelief at having 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽's younger brother at his agency, finding it quite impressive. Tenya agreed, but his thoughts were consumed with the realization that the hero killer might be in the vicinity. Manuel mentioned hearing that Tenya was classmates with the Quirkless student, Izuku Midoriya. Tenya acknowledged this, recalling the inspiring speech Izuku delivered during a fight that motivated others to take action. At a nearby villain's bar, Slade introduced Stain to Tamura Shigaraki, who, along with his ally Kurohige, had been involved in a recent attack. Stain had heard about the incident at USJ and was curious about their intentions. Shigaraki revealed his longing to eliminate All Might and expressed his penchant for destruction, handing Stain a picture of Izuku from the sports festival. Stain, unimpressed, criticized Shigaraki's childish demeanor and questioned the purpose of killing heroes without meaning. As Stain brandished his knives, Kurohige inquired if he should intervene, but another voice suggested allowing Shigaraki to express himself to reach his potential. Back with Izuku, he contemplated the significance of one for all, realizing that it needed to become a part of him. 𝐼𝐼𝐻 observed Izuku's determination, recognizing that he was on the right path, even without a quirk, and praised Toshinori, also known as All Might, for choosing such a worthy successor. Elsewhere, Bakugo was engaged in a discussion with Best Jeanist about his anger issues, but the focus shifted to Kirishima and Tetsu, who were surprised to see each other. They greeted one another enthusiastically, and Fourth Kind, their instructor, announced that he had offers for both of them and was eager to begin their training. He expressed admiration for their bravery during the sports festival but reminded them that being a hero required more than just brute strength. This week, they would learn from his experience. Tetsu recognized Fourth Kind as the chivalrous hero, while Kirishima admired his manliness. Fourth Kind, eager to maintain order, urged them to wait for him to finish, prompting an apologetic response from the two students. Apologies were exchanged as the Fourth Kind remarked that he would need to teach manners as well. Kirishima and Tetsu expressed their gratitude, acknowledging the Fourth Kind's guidance. He then shifted the conversation to their purpose for being there, explaining that while heroes receive wages from the government, they were civil servants with unique responsibilities due to their quirks. He mentioned witnessing the sports festival and was impressed by a quirkless boy's resilience in battle. Gunhead elaborated on the hero code, stating that they respond to crime as it happens, with the police contacting them for assistance. They engage in typical hero activities like fighting criminals and rescuing people, which leads to evaluations of their work and corresponding pay. Ochako was curious if Izuku had been informed about this, to which Gunhead noted that he had figured it out on his own. He expressed a paternal bond with Izuku, who saw him as a father figure. Momo listened intently as 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵 shared that heroes could have side jobs, despite some controversies. 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵 was preparing for a commercial and asked for their support. Ituska hoped for something more action-oriented, while Momo acknowledged that such attention was part of being a pro. She appreciated 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵's willingness to share her knowledge with students. Ituska reflected on Midoriya's admirable qualities and considered speaking to him after their internships. 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵 remarked that despite quirks, they were all still human. Meanwhile, J.I.R. was out patrolling with Death Arm, finding it more challenging than her classes. Mineta, alongside 𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐷, learned the importance of timing while patrolling, though he wished for a different kind of roleplay. 𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐷 commented on Midoriya's strategic thinking during the sports festival, noting how he had grown more handsome since their first encounter. Tsuyu was engaged in push-ups during her internship, while Todoroki faced 𝗟𝗏, who was eager to guide him on the path of a hero. Shoto firmly stated his intention to forge his own future, leading 𝗟𝗏 to insist they prepare for an outing to learn what it truly meant to be a hero. Back with Izuku, he pondered how to enhance his abilities without a quirk. Inspired by 𝐼𝐻𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬's agility, he decided to modify his boots to help him jump higher, similar to using one for all. After a night of hard work, he awaited 𝐼𝐻𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬's arrival. In the morning, 𝐼𝐻𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬 greeted him and inquired about his modifications. Izuku asked about All Might student days, learning that combat training was a significant part of his education. 𝐼𝐻𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬 shared a poignant memory about a friend who had passed away, which made Izuku empathize with All Might's struggles. A knock at the door interrupted their conversation, and Izuku answered to find a new microwave, as 𝐼𝐻𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬's had broken. This led Izuku to a realization about one for all, comparing it to a 𝗬𝗧 that needed to remain on for power to flow. 𝐼𝐻𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬 noted how quickly Izuku grasped this concept. As they prepared for another training match, Izuku donned his modified boots. Their fight commenced with both jumping around energetically. When 𝐼𝐻𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬 attempted to attack from behind, Izuku dodged swiftly and countered effectively. 𝐼𝐻𝐬𝐃𝐞𝐭𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐬 complimented his performance, and Izuku, feeling the need to replenish their food supply after a mishap during training, excused himself to buy more. He wondered about the experiences of his classmates during their internships, reflecting on their growth and challenges. Ochako was focused on her training, receiving encouragement from Gunhead to concentrate on her punches and physical strength. Kirishima, meanwhile, was dealing with lukewarm conditions, expressing his dissatisfaction. The two friends struggled to brew a proper cup of tea, much to the frustration of their supervisor, who wanted to impress the clients visiting their agency. The supervisor, known as Fourth Kind, playfully struck both Kirishima and Tetsu on the head, but they quickly activated their quirks to dull the impact. Fourth Kind expressed his disappointment, questioning if this was the quality of service they intended to provide. Kaken was preoccupied with a new hairstyle, realizing he had chosen the wrong agency. Meanwhile, Momo and Ituska observed Yuambi taking pictures. Ituska lamented that it seemed everyone else was enjoying their hero work more than they were. Momo suggested that some hero work could be exhausting. They speculated about Midoriya's agency, which he had claimed was a secret. Ituska mused that if it was secret, it might be better than they imagined, considering Midoriya was quirkless and likely had something special in mind. Back at UA, All Might greeted Tsukachi warmly, curious about his visit. Tsukachi explained that they were investigating a Nomu creature, which they believed had once been an ordinary thug without a quirk. All Might pondered how a quirk could have been bestowed upon him, and speculated that it must involve someone capable of granting multiple quirks. The realization struck All Might, and he transformed into his muscular form, declaring it impossible. In a villain's bar, Slade relaxed while Stain confronted Shigaraki, who was restrained by Kurogiri. Shigaraki acknowledged their differing goals and instructed Kurogiri to take him back. Kurogiri, confused, found himself unable to move. Slade revealed that Stain's quirk immobilized individuals when he tasted their BLD. Stain threatened Shigaraki with a knife, but Shigaraki managed to rust the blade, reducing it to dust. Shigaraki expressed his longing to eliminate All Might while everyone was distracted. Stain, on the other hand, aimed to rid the world of false heroes who tarnished the hero's reputation. Shigaraki urged Stain to leave, suggesting he was the one Stain despised most. Slade chose to accept Shigaraki's offer, while Stain prepared to return to Hosu to confront more false heroes. Meanwhile, Manuel and Tenya patrolled Kyoto, with Manuel commenting on the monotony of their task. Tenya, however, preferred the calm. Manuel cautiously asked if Tenya was pursuing the hero killer, to which Tenya confirmed his intentions. Manuel cautioned him against putting himself in danger, assuring him that they would apprehend the villain without him risking his safety. Tenya appreciated the concern but remained resolute in his mission. In Hosu City, Stain stood firm in his belief that he needed to reform the city, even if it meant spilling BLD. Kurogiri acknowledged Stain's clear goal, and Stain expressed his disdain for false heroes who sought fame rather than true heroism. As Stain departed, Shigaraki devised a plan, instructing Kurogiri to bring forth the Nomus. As the Nomus emerged from the portal, Shigaraki taunted Stain, asserting that he could eliminate him whenever he wished. He proposed to crush Stain's honor and pride before any confrontation, hoping to avoid an encounter with Midoriya. Back with Izuku, 𝗟𝗏𝐿 remarked that revenge would not solve anything, expressing concern for Izuku's friend. Suddenly, a commotion caught their attention as a building exploded. 𝗟𝗏𝐿 speculated about the cause, while Izuku feared it might be a villain ambush. An announcement urged passengers to hold on as the train came to an abrupt stop. A hero burst in, injured and warning of a 𝗏𝐻𝐻 attack. 𝗟𝗏𝐿 instructed everyone to stay back as Izuku prepared his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 sticks, ready to face the chaos outside, where Hosu was engulfed in flames. Shigaraki was reveling in chaos as a 𝗏𝐻𝐻 moved through the flames, his laughter echoing in the air. He found the situation to be an exhilarating game. Meanwhile, Iida was determined to take action. Manuel urged him to hurry, insisting they needed to stop the destruction. As they sprinted forward, Iida noticed a shadowy figure in a dark alley and decided to investigate. In the alley, 𝗏𝗏 observed the commotion with disdain. He thought to himself that the noise was bothersome and that he would deal with the source later, but he had more pressing matters to attend to. A voice interrupted his thoughts, filled with desperation. The figure struggled, unable to move, and threatened 𝗏𝗏 with vengeance. Iida confronted 𝗏𝗏, launching an attack, but 𝗏𝗏 swiftly knocked off his mask. He regarded Iida with disdain, commenting on his youth and attire, suggesting he should leave. Iida stood firm, declaring his identity. He was determined to confront 𝗏𝗏, revealing that he was the brother of a renowned hero whom 𝗏𝗏 had nearly killed. He spoke passionately about his brother's legacy, vowing that 𝗏𝗏 would remember his name. He declared himself 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐸 and promised to defeat 𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏, unfazed, responded with a chilling intent, ready to engage in battle. Meanwhile, 𝗟𝗏𝐿 had dealt with the 𝗏𝐻𝐻, and sensing the urgency of the situation, Iida utilized his new boots to leap from rooftop to rooftop. Upon landing on the ground, he rushed toward the flames, hearing Manuel call out to him in the distance. "Iida, where are you?" Following the voice of Manuel, Izuku hurried towards the source. When he arrived, he discovered several pro-heroes engaged in battle with a different 𝗏𝐻𝐻. He realized there were two 𝗏𝐻𝐻s and understood that if they were the same type, they likely shared the same weakness. A female hero urged him to leave, but he ignored her warning. Instead, he dashed toward the 𝗏𝐻𝐻, grabbing 3 wingdings and positioning them between his fingers. Using his boots, he leaped onto the 𝗏𝐻𝐻. The heroes watched in disbelief as he began to strike the 𝗏𝐻𝐻 repeatedly on its head with the wingdings. The creature staggered and fell to its knees, overwhelmed by the blows. Seizing the moment, Izuku activated one of his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 sticks and jabbed it into the 𝗏𝐻𝐻's head before pulling it out and stepping back, leaving the heroes astonished at his victory. One hero recognized him as the Quirkless boy, while another questioned why they should take orders from him. Izuku asserted that it was a hero's duty to save others, urging them to follow his advice. He then sprinted away, using his boots to navigate through the alleys in search of Iida. He soon found Iida on the ground, in danger of being attacked. With a swift jump, he used his tech glove to strike the hero killer on the cheek. Iida, surprised, called out to him, but Izuku insisted he couldn't leave him behind. Noticing the pro-hero native nearby, he sent his location to 𝗪𝗪 for backup. Iida explained that he couldn't move due to the villain's quirk, and Izuku understood the urgency of the situation. The hero killer, 𝗏𝗏, acknowledged Izuku's presence, and Izuku declared that he would fight to protect others and fulfill his dream of becoming a hero. 𝗏𝗏, taken aback by Izuku's determination, swung his sword, but Izuku dodged and countered with his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 sticks. As they exchanged blows, Iida observed that Izuku's movements resembled those of Bakugo, but he couldn't comprehend how he was doing it. 𝗏𝗏, frustrated, attempted to cut Izuku but found that his suit was resistant to blades. The fight continued, with Izuku blocking 𝗏𝗏's attacks until he heard ice forming behind him. He flipped back to see Todoroki joining the fray. Izuku welcomed Todoroki, who informed them that other pro-heroes were on their way. Iida insisted that he needed to confront 𝗏𝗏 alone, but Izuku reminded him of his brother's wish for him to be a hero. They continued to fight, with Izuku using his gauntlets to defend himself after 𝗏𝗏 disarmed him. As the battle raged on, Iida regained his strength and activated his quirk, joining Izuku and Todoroki against 𝗏𝗏. Ida expressed his reluctance to let them fight for him, but Izuku encouraged them to work together. They devised a plan, with 𝗏𝗱 freezing Ida's leg to enhance his mobility. Izuku prepared to hold 𝗏𝗱 off while they executed their strategy. He launched 𝗏𝗱 into the air, and as he readied for a powerful strike, Ida joined him in the attack. With a coordinated effort, they struck 𝗏𝗱 simultaneously, Izuku landing a blow to his face while Ida kicked him from behind, and Todoroki finished with a fiery assault. After the fight, 𝗏𝗱 remained conscious, and Izuku used his 𝐒𝐮𝐬 stick to incapacitate him further, ensuring all his weapons were removed. 𝗏𝗱 complimented Izuku on his armor, which had protected him during the battle. Just then, Native expressed his gratitude for being saved, acknowledging Izuku's new hero name. 𝗟𝗏𝗄 appeared, questioning Izuku's presence. Izuku explained that he had saved Ida and captured 𝗏𝗱. 𝗟𝗏𝗄, relieved that Izuku was safe, noted that his training had paid off. As they turned to see the other heroes approaching, a female hero called out to Izuku, now known as Nightwing. Izuku confirmed that the figure before them was indeed the hero killer. He explained that his friends were injured and urged someone to call for the police and an ambulance, assuring them that he was not harmed. A female hero expressed her surprise at his lack of injuries, to which Izuku replied that his armor was blade-proof and that he had trained against knives and swords with gunhead. While the heroes contacted the authorities, Izuku took out his 𝐒𝐮𝐬 sticks and assumed a defensive stance. 𝗟𝗏𝗄 questioned why he still had the weapons, and Izuku explained that since 𝗟𝗏𝗄 had defeated the Nomu, he had encountered another one and wanted to remain vigilant for a potential third. The female hero warned him that it was a flying Nomu, advising him to stay alert. Tenya, feeling guilty, apologized to Midoriya for not listening and for the injuries his friends sustained. Izuku reassured him, stating that as the class representative, it was his duty to look out for others. He emphasized that saving those who matter to you is what defines a true hero. 𝗏𝗱, the hero killer, then addressed Izuku, acknowledging that he understood why Shigaraki despised him. 𝗏𝗱 compared Izuku to All Might but claimed that he viewed him as a better hero than the false ones around. Suddenly, the flying Nomu appeared and seized Izuku, but as it attempted to escape, it was shot in the eye. Izuku fell but was caught by 𝗏𝗱, who was then confronted by a figure emerging from the shadows. Red Hood demanded to know 𝗏𝗱's whereabouts, but 𝗏𝗱 refused to divulge any information. In a shocking turn, 𝗏𝗱 eliminated the Nomu and declared Izuku a true hero, revealing that he had heard about Izuku's parents. He made Izuku promise to destroy the League of Villains and embody the essence of a hero. In a tragic moment, 𝗏𝗱 took his own life, leaving Izuku and Red Hood in shock. As the police arrived, Izuku carried 𝗏𝗱's lifeless body to them. The heroes recounted the events, and the media reported on the emergence of a new hero, now known as Nightwing. 𝗟𝗏𝗄 approved of this new identity, and while Izuku appreciated the recognition, he remained focused on the importance of equality among heroes and the Quirkless. Later that night, Izuku reflected on his responsibilities as he received requests from other heroes to meet him. He was busy caring for 𝗏𝗏 and Tenya, who were recovering. Although Ida had sustained serious injuries, 𝗏𝗏 was doing better. Izuku checked on them, revealing a wound he had received during the battle, which he had concealed beneath his armor. 𝗏𝗏 remarked that he should have requested more protection for their hero costumes, to which Izuku replied that they were fortunate to have survived. 𝗟𝗏𝗄 and Manuel entered the room, and 𝗟𝗏𝗄 noted that everyone was awake. Tenya apologized to Manuel for not heeding his advice. 𝗟𝗏𝗄 then introduced the police chief of Hosu City, Kenji Tsuragami, who expressed gratitude to Izuku for his efforts in saving his friends and the hero native. However, he pointed out that due to Izuku's lack of a quirk, they could not publicly acknowledge his heroics. Izuku suggested replacing Todoroki and Ida's identities with those of 𝗟𝗏𝗄 and 𝗟𝗏𝗸, framing them as two UA students who had assisted. 𝗟𝗏𝗄 found this idea agreeable, and Tsuragami wished Izuku luck, asking why he wanted to be a hero. Izuku explained that it was a promise to his parents to show that even without quirks, they could help heroes in need. As he left, 𝗏𝗏 inquired about his destination, and Izuku mentioned he had received a call. Meanwhile, the news reported on the battle between the hero killer and the Quirkless hero, now known as Nightwing, highlighting the support he received from 𝐼𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐿 and 𝗟𝗏𝐻𝐿. As Izuku spoke with 𝐿𝐽𝐻𝐿 on the phone, she expressed her fear when he sent the address. He reassured her that Iida and Todoroki were safe, and she was relieved to hear he was unharmed. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 interrupted their conversation, wanting to speak with Izuku. After a brief exchange, 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 invited Izuku to watch the training session, teasing him about his relationship with 𝐿𝐽𝐻𝐿. Izuku agreed to attend, and as he made his way there, he noticed people staring at him, some girls even winking. Eventually, he arrived at his destination, ready for what lay ahead. Izuku greeted 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 and 𝐿𝐽𝐻𝐿, who rushed over to him and embraced him tightly. She expressed her eagerness to hear about his internship, promising to catch up at school. Izuku acknowledged her affection, mentioning that he had been doing well. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 suggested they spar, and Izuku agreed, feeling the need for a warm-up. Suddenly, Izuku's phone rang, announcing an incoming call. All Might answered, recognizing 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿's voice. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 expressed his surprise about Izuku's friends causing his teaching license to be suspended for 6 months. He noted that Izuku had gained fame, much like All Might, and had a tendency to leap into battle. All Might apologized, attributing Izuku's behavior to his influence. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 reassured him, stating that All Might was the reason he had his license in the first place. Their conversation shifted to the hero killer, who shared All Might's determination but also inspired villains. All Might affirmed that heroes were there to stop such threats. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 warned that the League of Villains was connected to the hero killer, suggesting that more would join their ranks. All Might suspected the hero killer was behind recent events, recalling the man who had killed 𝗟𝗏𝐿, his mentor and the previous holder of One for All. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 urged All Might to prepare Izuku for the truth about One for All and the upcoming battle, hoping he would accept the power. As Izuku prepared to leave 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿's apartment, he thanked him for the training and expressed regret about his teaching license. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 wished him well, and as Izuku walked away, he playfully introduced himself as Nightwing, leaving 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 to reflect on the importance of Izuku as the next symbol of peace. A few days later at UA, Kirishima and 𝗟𝗏 were laughing, prompting Bakugo to threaten them over their comments about his hair. 𝗟𝗏 challenged him, and Bakugo's hair returned to its usual style. The students shared stories about their internships, with 𝗟𝗏 asking 𝐿𝐽𝐻𝐿 how hers went. 𝐿𝐽𝐻𝐿 described it as enlightening, and 𝗟𝗏 noted that she seemed to have found her fighting spirit. Jairu and Mina chimed in, with Mina pointing out that Izuku's guardian had made a significant impact. Kaminari boasted about his popularity during his internship, while Mineta made a dubious comment about women. 𝗟𝗏 mentioned the hero killer, and Kirishima expressed relief that everyone had made it back safely. Momo shared her worries for her classmates, particularly Todoroki. 𝗟𝗏 noted that Midoriya had helped save them alongside 2 professional heroes. Toru remarked on Izuku's newfound fame as the quirkless hero who had taken down the villain. Momo recounted how she had heard people discussing Izuku while on patrol, surprised by his collaboration with 𝗟𝗏𝐻𝐿. Shoto confirmed that his father had worked with Midoriya to save him and Iida. Ojiro mentioned the hero killer's demise and his connection to the League of Villains. Kaminari expressed gratitude that they hadn't witnessed the death firsthand, while Iida noted that Midoriya had seen it up close. Ochako asked Izuku how he felt about witnessing the event, but he hesitated. Kirishima reassured him that they were just curious. Izuku revealed that it felt like reliving the loss of his parents. The classroom fell silent, even Bakugo. Izuku shared that the hero killer had told him he was a true hero and had asked him to promise to destroy the League of Villains and embody the definition of a hero. 𝗟𝗏 was shocked that the hero killer had known about Izuku's parents. Izuku admitted he had been trying to process it but suggested they prepare for class to start. Tenya urged everyone to take their seats, and Tokoyami noted Izuku's return. Jairu questioned why Izuku had to speak up. Later, during training, All Might announced his presence and welcomed the students back. He explained that today's lesson would focus on hero basic training, emphasizing the importance of using the skills they had learned during their internships in a rescue race. There would be 5 individuals, and one needed to reach the destination first. Class 1A acknowledged the instruction. All Might announced that the 5 participants were Midoriya, Ishido, 𝗟𝗏, 𝗏𝗟𝗏, and Iida. Back in the classroom, Kaminari expressed concern about Iida's condition, suggesting he should sit this one out. Kirishima noted that everyone in the group had impressive mobility. Momo reluctantly pointed out that Midoriya faced a disadvantage due to being quirkless, questioning how he would navigate the obstacles without his motorcycle. Kirishima, despite his friendship with Midoriya, placed his bets on 𝗟𝗏. Kaminari chose 𝗏𝗟𝗏, while Mineta opted for Ishido, praising her athletic build. Bakugo confidently declared that Midoriya would finish last. Ochako, though hesitant, believed Iida might still have a chance despite his injuries. All Might signaled the start of the competition. 𝗟𝗏 took an early lead, but Kirishima quickly overtook him. The class gasped in surprise as Midoriya surged ahead, showcasing his modified boots. 𝗟𝗏 was left bewildered by Midoriya's sudden speed, while Mina cheered him on. After navigating the obstacles, Midoriya reached All Might first. All Might congratulated him, whispering that he needed to speak with him after class. Midoriya greeted his classmates, who were still in shock at his performance. In the locker room, Kirishima asked how Midoriya managed to pass 𝗟𝗏, and 𝗟𝗏 questioned how he could do it while being quirkless. Midoriya explained that he had modified his boots during his internship, allowing him to jump higher and move faster in parkour. Tokoyami noted that many of them were looking to improve their skills. Kirishima apologized for doubting him, to which Midoriya replied that it was fine since they were best friends. Midoriya wondered what All Might wanted to discuss, suspecting it was about One for All. Mineta interrupted, excitedly revealing that he had found a hole in the wall leading to the girls' locker room. Tenya warned him against peeping, emphasizing that it would be wrong. Mineta, undeterred, continued to make inappropriate comments about the girls. Frustrated, Midoriya grabbed Mineta by the head and lifted him up, ready to teach him a lesson. With Todoroki freezing Mineta's legs and Kirishima and Bakugo holding his arms, Midoriya charged up his glove and punched through the wall, leaving Mineta's silhouette behind. In the girls' locker room, Momo expressed relief that Mineta had been dealt with, while Ochako called him a creep. Mina praised Midoriya for his actions, and the girls thanked him. Midoriya responded modestly, wondering why 𝗟𝗏 hadn't said anything about him. After school, Kirishima approached Midoriya, asking why he wasn't joining them. Midoriya explained that he had something important to attend to. Ochako thanked him for handling Mineta and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek before walking away with the others, leaving both of them blushing. At All Might's office, Izuku greeted him and took a seat. He inquired if the discussion was about One for All. Yagi confirmed that it was indeed about the quirk, explaining that when One for All is passed on, it must be done willingly, it cannot be taken by force. He elaborated on its unique origin, revealing that One for All was derived from another peculiar quirk, a very ancient power. Izuku learned that this other quirk was called All for One, which allowed its user to take quirks from others, keeping them for themselves or transferring them to someone else. This practice began when quirks first emerged, a time when society struggled to adapt to those with newfound powers. Many believed it was impossible to maintain a normal life, leading to heated debates over laws and human rights. During this chaotic PRD, one man, known as All for One, exploited the situation. He stole quirks from others, spreading his influence across the nation, manipulating people to serve his agenda, and committing malevolent acts with little opposition. As a result, he became the leader of villains and took control of Japan. Izuku wondered why this history was not discussed in their textbooks. Yagi explained that it was easier for people to ignore it. He continued, stating that those who gain true power often revel in showcasing it. While All for One gained the trust of many, there were unfortunate individuals who could not handle the burden of the quirks they received, becoming mindless beings. Izuku realized that these mindless beings were the nomes. Yagi shared that All for One had a younger brother who was quirkless, small, and frail but possessed a strong sense of justice. All for One bestowed a quirk upon him, though it was unclear whether it was a true gift or a means of control. Izuku noted that his brother actually had a quirk that allowed him to transfer other quirks. This ability merged with the one given by 𝐿, leading to the creation of One for All. Yagi explained that this quirk was ultimately used to defeat 𝐿. He recounted how he managed to stop him but now faced the threat of his return. Yagi expressed his belief in Izuku's determination, stating that he could become the next user of One for All and defeat 𝐿. Izuku resolved to do his best, acknowledging his inner conflict about accepting this responsibility. He mentioned having a plan and suggested discussing it the following day. Yagi encouraged him to go, and Izuku left, deep in thought about the weight of the trust placed in him. The next day at school, Mr. Aizawa shared some news with the class. He reminded them that summer vacation was approaching but warned that they could not simply relax for an entire month. Instead, they would be training while camping in the woods. Excitement filled the room as students reacted to the news, discussing the upcoming sleepover, fireworks, and other activities. However, Aizawa reminded them that those who did not pass the final exam before the semester ended would have to attend summer school. Encouraged by their peers, Izuku felt a sense of determination to succeed. Despite the pressure, he reflected on his situation, realizing that he needed to prepare for the exam and work on his backup plans. The following day, a host welcomed two special guests on a show, 𝐿𝐬, a rookie hero, and Midnight, a pro currently teaching at UA High School. The discussion turned to a quirkless hero known as Nightwing. Midnight shared her insights, mentioning that he was one of her students and that despite being quirkless, he was determined to become a hero to fulfill a promise to his parents. 𝐿𝐬 recalled her first encounter with him during a villain incident, noting that he had jumped in to help and had grown more handsome since then. Midnight playfully asserted that she had her eyes on him, claiming him as her own. Back at school, Aizawa concluded the class, reminding everyone that only 1 week remained before the final exams. He urged them to continue studying and training, emphasizing the importance of both the written and practical portions of the exam. Students expressed their concerns about their lack of preparation, with some worried about the challenges ahead. Izuku, ranked first, reassured his classmates that they still had time to study and would all attend the training camp together. Tenya shared his hopes of making UA proud, while Shoto noted that paying attention in class made it difficult to fail. As the students prepared for the upcoming challenges, they remained united in their determination to succeed. Rank 4 Kaminari expressed his frustration about being criticized. Momo reassured him, offering to catch him up on the important topics if he wanted. Both Kaminari and Mina praised her, calling her the best. Momo admitted that she might not be much help with the practical aspects, which made Shoto think about how Momo seemed down after the sports festival, and he felt the urge to support her. J.𝐼𝐻, struggling with quadratic functions, asked for help, and Momo agreed to assist her. 𝐼𝐻, overwhelmed by classical Japanese, also requested tutoring, as did Ojiro, who was worried about falling behind. Momo was thrilled by the idea of helping them all. Later, as they discussed their plans for food and tea, Izuku noticed Shoto gazing at Momo and suspected he had feelings for her. He confronted Shoto, who blushed and denied it, insisting she was just a friend. Izuku pointed out that he understood how Shoto felt, recalling how others often talked about him and Ochako. Eventually, Shoto admitted he liked Momo but was unsure how to express it. Izuku suggested that since Momo had been struggling with her confidence, Shoto should help her regain it during the exam. Shoto was surprised by Izuku's supportive nature, recalling their long friendship. Kirishima chimed in, saying he should study with Momo as well. Bakugo, dismissing the idea that he didn't know enough, expressed that he would rather not interfere, knowing how much Kirishima cared for Mina. Kirishima was taken aback, questioning how Bakugo knew about his feelings. Aoyama commented on the general panic among students, suggesting that cramming at the last minute wouldn't help. Shoji reminded Aoyama that he hadn't performed well on the midterms either, but Aoyama insisted he was fine. During lunch, Izuku sensed something was off, while Tenya doubted they would receive anything too challenging. Izuku reassured everyone that the written exam would cover material they had learned, making it manageable. Ochako questioned if it would be that easy, and Toru noted it would be a comprehensive test. Tsuyu confirmed that they had received little information from Mr. Aizawa. As they discussed the topics covered, Izuku was suddenly interrupted when Monoma accidentally bumped into him. Monoma, from Class 1B, made a comment about Izuku's large head and mentioned the rivalry between their classes. He brought up Izuku's fame from defeating the hero killer, but Izuku countered that fame didn't equate to being a great hero, warning Monoma not to threaten his friends. As Monoma attempted to retaliate, he was stopped by 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐻 Kendo, who apologized for his behavior. Izuku recognized her and they discussed the upcoming exam. 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐻 mentioned that she had heard it would involve robots, but Izuku corrected her, explaining that due to recent events, they would be facing their teachers, the pro heroes. The revelation shocked the students around them. Later, in the hallway with Ochako, Shoto, Momo, Tsuyu, and Tokoyami, they debated how to inform the others about the exam. Shoto questioned if it was a good idea, while the others unanimously opted out of being the one to tell the class. In Class 1B, Monoma expressed his disdain for Class 1A, dismissing their claims and predicting their failure. 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐻 defended Class 1A, acknowledging their help in preparing for the final exam. Students speculated about who they would face in the upcoming challenge. Tetsu teased 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐻 about her flushed cheeks, suggesting she liked someone. 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐻 denied it, but the others pressed her for details. Eventually, she revealed her feelings for Midoriya, which shocked Monoma. Setsuna admitted she also liked him, leading to a light-hearted debate about their admiration for Midoriya. Meanwhile, in Class 1, Mina expressed relief that the test would involve fighting robots. Siro felt confident with Momo's guidance. As the others chatted, Izuku reflected on One for All and his backup plans. Bakugo interrupted, questioning why everyone was excited about the exam, regardless of the opponents. Kaminari took offense, prompting Bakugo to scold him for not controlling his quirk. The atmosphere shifted as Bakugo's intensity made Mina and Denki uneasy, and he turned his attention to Izuku. Izuku glanced at Bakugo, who was visibly frustrated. Bakugo expressed his annoyance about Izuku's new move, claiming it was infuriating. Ochako whispered to Mina, suggesting that Bakugo was referring to how he had been moving like Izuku. Mina nodded in agreement. Bakugo declared that in the finals he would prove he was superior to Izuku. Izuku countered that the competition was not about proving who was better, but about demonstrating the qualities of a true hero. He pointed out Bakugo's selfishness, which only earned a scoff from Bakugo. He then threatened Todoroki before storming off. Izuku packed his belongings and left as well. Ochako checked in on him, asking if he was okay. He reassured her that he was fine, noting that Bakugo was always the same. He decided to focus on studying for the finals. Kirishima reminded him that he was already ranked first, but Izuku insisted that he still needed to train. Mina reassured them that they would be fine against the robots. As Izuku looked at his friends, he felt a surge of determination. They were always concerned for his well-being, but he worried for them too. Along with Gunhead, they were the only family he had left, and he was determined not to lose them like he had lost his parents. The next day, Izuku was in his room studying while also upgrading his combat suit for the sports festival. He had incorporated half of All Might's DNA into the suit and created a serum he named the 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐻 serum. This way, if his suit was destroyed, he could inject the serum and still access One for All. After finishing the upgrades, he returned to his studies. Time passed, and the week of finals arrived. Mina and the others received a lot of help from Momo, allowing them to succeed in the written portion of the exam. Now they had to face the practical part. They gathered at the central plaza, where a surprise awaited them, though some were already aware of it. Aizawa began the test, warning them not to make foolish mistakes if they wanted to go to camp. Jiraiya questioned why all the teachers were present, and Aizawa explained that he expected many of them thought they would only be fighting robots. Kaminari confirmed that they had indeed thought so. Mina excitedly anticipated fireworks and 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐻s at camp. Suddenly, Principal Nizu emerged from Aizawa's scarf, announcing that this year's test would be entirely different for various reasons. Half of the class reacted in shock at his appearance. Momo pointed out that they were changing things, to which Izuku suggested that they should have anticipated this. The class and teachers were astonished to learn that Izuku had known about the changes. Principal 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐸 explained that the final test would involve hero work, and they would be working in pairs to fight against their teachers. 𝐼𝐼𝐽 revealed that he had already chosen the partners and opponents. Yaoyorozu and Todoroki would face him, while Izuku was paired with Bakugo. Bakugo expressed his frustration at being paired with Izuku, but Izuku remained calm, confident that he understood their opponent. Suddenly, All Might descended from the sky, declaring his readiness to fight. Izuku felt a thrill of excitement at the prospect of facing him. In a flashback, Aizawa reflected on a meeting regarding the practical exam. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦 noted that Izuku had deduced the other part of the final exam due to the villain attack and his encounter with the hero killer. Midnight questioned whether Izuku truly lacked a quirk, but Aizawa confirmed that he was quirkless, attributing his success to his detective skills. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦 emphasized the need to push the students to become as strong as possible, while 𝗟𝗏𝗚 mentioned Izuku's skills and gadgets, including his combat suit from the sports festival. Aizawa had made a decision regarding Izuku's fight and partner. Present Mike inquired about the choice, and Aizawa confirmed that All Might would handle Izuku, with Bakugo as his partner. All Might accepted the challenge, believing Izuku might possess his quirk. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦 acknowledged that Bakugo's rivalry with Izuku could help them resolve their differences. Back in the present, 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦 announced the teams and their respective teachers for the battles. Kirishima and Sato would face 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽𝐻, Tokoyami and Tsuyu would take on 𝗟𝗏𝗚, and Iida and 𝐿𝐺𝐻𝐬 would fight 𝗟𝗏𝗚. Todoroki and Yaoyorozu were matched against 𝐼𝐼𝐻𝐸, while Uraraka and Aoyama faced Kaminari and Ishido would battle 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦, and Kyoka and Koda were up against Present Mike. Hagakure and Shoji would take on 𝐶𝐻𝐸, while Mineta and 𝐶𝐻𝐸 faced Midnight. Finally, Izuku and Bakugo would fight All Might. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦 explained that to complete the exam, they had 30 minutes to either put 𝐻𝗍𝐷𝐶FFS on the heroes or escape the combat stage. Afterward, Izuku went to the observation room to watch his classmates' battles, hoping for their success. Ochako joined him, expressing her support for their friends. Izuku reassured her that despite Bakugo's animosity, he would protect him during the battle. Prepared with his suit, Izuku was ready to face All Might. To be continued. As Kirishima and Sato began their match, they were quickly defeated for rushing in. Next, Tokoyami and Tsuyu faced 𝗟𝗏𝗚. They started to gain the upper hand until 𝗟𝗏𝗚 created a giant clone of himself, trapping them. Tsuyu had an idea, giving Dark Shadow the cuffs, leading to their victory. Tokoyami praised Tsuyu for her cleverness, and she encouraged him to call her Tsu instead of Azui. Tokoyami blushed at the compliment, while Dark Shadow teased him about his feelings for her. Tsuyu then surprised Tokoyami with a kiss on the cheek, making him blush even more. In the following match, 𝐿𝐺𝐻𝐸 and Iida encountered challenges as 𝗟𝗏𝗚 used the underground to his advantage. However, Iida devised a plan where 𝐿𝐺𝐻𝐸 rode on his back, allowing him to be thrown toward the exit, securing their success. It was Todoroki and Momo's turn. Todoroki devised a plan to distract Aizawa while Momo made her way to the exit. However, things took a turn when Todoroki was captured. Momo, determined to help him, returned to his side. He reassured her by expressing the reasons he had voted for her as class representative, which reignited her confidence. Once Todoroki was freed, Momo revealed her own strategy, and together, they successfully passed the challenge. From Shoto's perspective, he felt a surge of emotions as he prepared to share something important with Momo. He reflected on their journey from childhood friends to something deeper. He hesitated, searching for the right words, and finally, with a deep breath, he leaned in and shared a moment that would change everything between them. Stain and Deathstroke prepared to confront Ingenium. Ingenium expressed his remorse to his younger brother, Iida. Just as Stain was about to deliver the final blow, a gunshot rang out, not from Deathstroke but from an unexpected source. A mysterious figure declared that they had found 𝐿𝐮𝐱 and demanded his surrender. 𝐿𝐮𝐱 suggested they retreat, while Stain, frustrated, warned that they would return. The figure introduced themselves as the Red Hood, a vigilante known for eliminating villains. Meanwhile, Momo and Shoto shared a moment of mutual affection, with Shoto confessing his love for Momo, who reciprocated his feelings. They decided to keep their relationship private until after the final event. Izuku observed the matches unfold. Ochako and Aoyama struggled against 13, who had them trapped with her quirk. However, Ochako managed to break free, allowing them to capture in the observation room. Izuku was joined by Tsuyu, Tokoyami, and later Ida, Momo, and Todoroki. Mina and Kaminari's turn ended in failure, as Principal Nizu anticipated their moves. Koda and Jairu succeeded by communicating with insects, while Shoji and Hagakure devised a distraction to pass Snipe's challenge. Mineta and Siro faced difficulties, but Mineta cleverly used his quirk to create an opening for their escape. When it was Izuku's turn, he discreetly left the others and found himself at the gate, where Bakugo was also waiting. Their match commenced, and they both sprinted forward. Izuku urged Bakugo to focus on reaching the gate, but Bakugo insisted on defeating their opponent first. A powerful gust of wind swept through, signaling the start of their battle with All Might. Bakugo charged in with an explosive attack, but All Might swiftly countered, slamming him to the ground. Izuku couldn't remain passive. He grabbed his 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽 sticks and launched an attack, only for All Might to break them effortlessly. After a failed kick, Izuku urged Bakugo to reconsider their strategy, but Bakugo remained defiant. All Might, recognizing their intent to escape, trapped Izuku beneath a fence and struck Bakugo, sending him flying. In a moment of desperation, Izuku used his grapple gun to free himself and raced to Bakugo's side. They took a brief moment to regain their composure before Bakugo devised a new plan. As All Might searched for them, Bakugo attempted a sneak attack, creating a distraction. Izuku seized the opportunity to blast All Might with one of Bakugo's gauntlets, and they made a break for the exit. However, All Might quickly caught up, destroying Bakugo's gauntlets and pinning him down. Bakugo retaliated with a massive explosion, launching Izuku toward the exit. As Izuku soared through the air, he feared for his friend's safety. All Might intercepted him, sending him crashing into a bus. As Izuku limped toward the exit, he witnessed Bakugo take a hit meant for him, and he felt a surge of guilt. All Might, acknowledging Bakugo's sacrifice, prepared to finish the fight. Izuku, overwhelmed with emotion, declared that he couldn't bear to lose anyone else he cared about. In that moment, he activated his suit from the sports festival, ready to continue the fight. Izuku prepared to face the formidable All Might, activating his one-for-all power and launching a punch that connected with All Might's face. Seizing the opportunity, he grabbed Bakugo and attempted to escape, but All Might quickly caught up. However, Izuku managed to set Bakugo down and caught All Might's fist, retaliating with another punch that sent All Might stumbling back. The two exchanged blows, each strike resonating with intensity. Izuku then delivered an uppercut, anticipating All Might's return. He strategically threw two wingdings to the side and two onto the ground before picking Bakugo back up and deactivating his suit. As they raced toward the exit, All Might charged at them, but Izuku pressed a button on his belt, activating the ultrasonic wingdings, causing All Might discomfort. As All Might stumbled forward, the wingdings on the ground detonated, momentarily hindering his advance. With the gate in sight, Izuku had one final move. He reactivated his suit, charging his arm with one for all and unleashing a powerful shot at All Might, sending him flying back. With that, Izuku and Bakugo reached the gate. The announcer declared that Team Midoriya and Bakugo had passed the exam. They made their way to Recovery Girl's office, where Izuku used a med kit from his belt to heal himself while Bakugo rested. Soon he reunited with his classmates. Kirishima congratulated Izuku on passing, while Mina and Ochako expressed their joy, with Ochako giving Izuku a warm hug. Shoto remarked on Izuku's newfound strength, and Momo agreed. Izuku thanked his friends, noting that they were all heading to camp, although Mina and Kirishima lamented their failure. Izuku reassured them that everyone makes mistakes and that learning from them is essential for becoming better heroes. In the villain's bar, Kurogiri questioned Shigaraki about his longing to meet someone. 𝐒𝐮𝐷 entered, announcing his return and introducing two newcomers. One was a boy with black hair dressed in dark clothing, and the other was an enthusiastic blonde girl. The black-haired boy commented on Shigaraki's appearance, while the girl recognized him as the weird hand guy and expressed her longing to join the league. Shigaraki, curious about the newcomers, asked for their names. 𝗟𝗱 explained that the girl, Toga, appeared to be an ordinary schoolgirl but had committed many crimes without revealing her identity. Toga introduced herself eagerly, mentioning her excitement about collecting BLD. 𝗟𝗱 then introduced the boy, who had not committed any crimes but wanted to follow in the footsteps of the hero killer. Shigaraki, annoyed, preferred Toga for her honesty. The boy introduced himself as 𝗂𝗍𝐵 but withheld his real name for now. Frustrated with the newcomer's intentions, Shigaraki was about to confront them when 𝗟𝗱 intervened, using his sword to keep Toga and 𝗂𝗍𝐵 at bay while Kurojiiri used his quirk to restrain Shigaraki. 𝗟𝗱 urged Shigaraki to see the bigger picture. The more members they had, the stronger the league would become in their quest to take down All Might. Reluctantly, Shigaraki agreed to let them join, while 𝗂𝗍𝐵 expressed his admiration for Shigaraki's connection to the hero killer. 𝗟𝗱 revealed his longing to confront the quirkless boy who had witnessed the hero killer's demise. Meanwhile, at UA, Kirishima, Mina, Sato, and Kaminari were feeling down about not passing the finals. Mina expressed her eagerness to hear their stories, while Izuku encouraged them, suggesting they might still be allowed to join. Kaminari questioned how Izuku could be so sure, and as he playfully poked Izuku, Izuku caught his arm, ready to support his friends. Izuku warned against any attempts to challenge him, confident in his ability to predict every move. He assured his classmates not to doubt him just as Mr. Aizawa entered the room. Aizawa informed the class that, due to some failures, everyone would be attending the training camp. The reaction from Mina, Kirishima, Sato, and Kaminari was one of surprise. Aizawa revealed that the entire exercise had been designed to push them to their limits. Tenya realized they had all been tricked, while Izuku claimed he had known all along. The rest of Class 1A was astonished at how he could figure things out so quickly. Aizawa added that the 5 students who had failed would need to attend extra lessons. This news brought down the spirits of Mina, Kirishima, Sato, 𝗟𝗍, and Denki once again. After school, Toru suggested that since they were going to camp, they should go shopping for supplies the next day. The class enthusiastically agreed. The following day at the mall, Mina expressed her excitement about being there again. Izuku reminisced about how much information they had shared with him regarding their hero costumes. Kirishima proposed that they split up to find the supplies they needed. Everyone hurried off, leaving just Izuku and Ochako together. Izuku noted that it was just the two of them now. Ochako asked what he needed to buy, to which Izuku replied that he didn't need anything, as he had everything at home. Curious, Ochako asked why he had come then. Izuku explained that he enjoyed being around the people he cared about, almost like being with his parents again. Ochako mentioned needing to get some spray and asked if he could manage on his own. Izuku confidently reminded her that he had defeated the hero killer. They agreed to meet back at 3. As Izuku wandered around, he noticed other kids enjoying time with their parents, which brought back fond memories of his own. Suddenly, a fan approached him, asking for an autograph. Izuku greeted the fan, who recognized him as the one who had won the sports festival and fought the hero killer. The fan remarked on how amusing it was to meet again. Izuku began to piece together who this person was when, unexpectedly, the fan placed 4 fingers on his neck. The fan revealed they hadn't seen each other since the USJ incident and suggested they catch up. Izuku recognized him as Tamura Shigaraki. Earlier, Shigaraki reflected on how Izuku had become popular since the incident, which irritated him as he observed people smiling around him. However, he acknowledged that Izuku had provided him with new recruits, which could be advantageous. He decided to call 𝗟𝗱, instructing him to come to the mall in case anything went wrong. After hanging up, he spotted Izuku, who had been involved in the USJ attack, and thought it would be interesting to have a conversation with him. Back in the present, Izuku confronted Shigaraki, stating that he understood the danger his quirk posed and that he wouldn't allow him to harm innocent people or his friends. Shigaraki expressed his disdain for everything, particularly the hero killer. Izuku noted that the media had suggested they were working together, but he reminded Shigaraki that the hero killer had killed his Nomu and believed Izuku should be the one to dismantle the League of Villains. Shigaraki posed a question about the difference between himself and the hero killer. Meanwhile, Ochako regretted walking away from the conversation. She reflected on how they had always felt sympathy for Shigaraki due to his loss and being quirkless, which had led to his isolation. She realized he now had friends and support, including 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐬, and thought perhaps she could talk to him and invite him to watch a movie. Returning to Izuku, he explained that the difference was that he and 𝐶𝐻𝐬 were inspired by All Might, while Shigaraki acted out of spite and complained whenever things went wrong. He pointed out that 𝐶𝐻𝐬 remained true to his beliefs, unlike Shigaraki. Suddenly, Shigaraki appeared pleased, declaring that All Might was the root of the problem and thanked Izuku, asking him to say hi to his parents. Shigaraki tightened his grip on Izuku's neck, trying to provoke him into a fight. Izuku remained calm until 𝐿𝐻𝐼𝐿 arrived, calling out to him in concern. Seeing Izuku in danger, she demanded that Shigaraki let him go. The distraction allowed Izuku to break free, and he kicked Shigaraki away. Just then, a gunshot rang out, and Izuku turned to see a masked figure, half in black and half in yellow, with a single eye visible. Izuku still couldn't believe that All Might had chosen him to inherit one for all, even though he didn't possess a quirk. He had been practicing with his Arkham Knight suit. Suddenly, a knock echoed through his room. When he opened the door, he found Mineta and Kaminari standing there. Kaminari explained that they had decided to invite Izuku to the pool, suggesting it would be a fun way to spend time before camp. Mineta chimed in, agreeing that they should enjoy themselves. Izuku, aware of their intentions, pointed out that they were likely more interested in the girls than in swimming. After a moment of hesitation, he agreed to join them, mentioning that he could use the swim for exercise and to see Ochako. He firmly reminded them to keep their thoughts respectful towards her. At UA, Vlad King approached Aizawa, asking him to share details about his class. Aizawa began listing his students and their quirks. He mentioned Aoyama, who had a belly button laser, Mina Ashido with her acid quirk, and 𝐶𝐻𝐬, who could mimic a frog's abilities. He continued with Tenya Ida, who was fast due to his engine quirk, and Ochako Uraraka, who could make objects weightless. Ojiro had a strong tail, while Denki Kaminari could charge electricity. Eijiro Kirishima could harden any part of his body, and Koji Koda could communicate with animals. Rikido Sato's quirk made him strong based on the sugar he consumed, and Mizo Shoji could create additional limbs from his tentacles. Kyoka Jiro could detect sounds with her earphone jacks, and Hantasiro could shoot tape to capture opponents. Fumikage Tokoyami's dark shadow was manageable during the day but became uncontrollable at night. Shoto Todoroki could manipulate ice and fire, while Toru Hagakure was invisible. Katsuki Bakugo had an explosive quirk, and Izuku Midoriya, despite being quirkless, was a skilled detective and combatant with impressive technology. Finally, Momo Yaoyorozu could create anything she desired. As Aizawa finished, he noticed Izuku had arrived with Kaminari and Mineta. Mineta inquired if they could use the pool, to which Aizawa consented, as long as it was for training purposes. The boys eagerly agreed. Upon arriving at the pool, Mineta and Kaminari were surprised to see other boys there as well. Mineta asked why they were present, and Izuku revealed that he had messaged the girls to join them for training, ensuring they wouldn't be used as mere cover. Time passed as they watched the girls play volleyball. Izuku cheered for Ochako, while Shoto supported Momo, Kirishima rooted for Mina, and Tokoyami cheered for Tsuyu. Tenya approached Izuku and handed him a soda, suggesting that it would be a refreshing drink. Izuku expressed his gratitude. Tenya remarked on how amusing it was that they had first met at the entrance exam and later became friends. Izuku reflected that it was because Tenya recognized what made him a true hero. Tenya agreed, and Izuku shared a wish that his parents could see him now. Tenya reassured him that he had never given up on them. Izuku acknowledged that the family he had left consisted of Ochako and the others, for whom he would sacrifice anything. Suddenly, Bakugo called out to Izuku, wanting to challenge him to see who was better, confident that he would win due to his quirk. Tenya suggested a friendly race to determine who would finish first in a 50-meter dash. Izuku agreed, mentioning that he had come to exercise at the pool. Momo offered to help Tenya, and he thanked her. Ojiro asked if they could use their quirks, and Tenya questioned Izuku's ability to keep up without a quirk or gadgets. Izuku replied that true heroism comes from the heart, and he was sure he could catch up to them. Kirishima cheered for Izuku's determination. Bakugo declared that he would still beat both Izuku and 𝗏𝗱. In the first match, Bakugo soared over the water, winning effortlessly. Kirishima pointed out that Bakugo hadn't even touched the water, to which Bakugo responded that it was called freestyle. In the next match, 𝗏𝗱 won by using his ice as if he were surfing, prompting Kaminari and Mineta to remind him that they were supposed to be swimming. When it was Izuku's turn, he raced against Iida, Ojiro, and Shoji. Despite being quirkless, his extensive training allowed him to catch up to Iida and win. The final round was set, Izuku against 𝗏𝗱 and Bakugo. Ochako expressed her belief that Izuku would win, while Momo sided with 𝗏𝗱. As the race began, Izuku took off, but he noticed something was off when he turned around to see that 𝗏𝗱 and Bakugo had fallen into the water. Bakugo exclaimed in frustration about their quirks, and Tenya informed them that Izuku had emerged victorious. Mr. Aizawa arrived, having erased Bakugo and 𝗏𝗱's quirks. Bakugo lamented that he had thought he would defeat Izuku. Aizawa reminded everyone that it was 5 p.m. and they should head home. Class 1A acknowledged him. As Izuku walked home with Ochako, 𝗏𝗱, and Momo on one side, and Kirishima and Mina on the other, Ochako asked what he had done over the summer. Izuku shared that he had visited his parents, assisted heroes as Nightwing, and trained for summer camp, mentioning that Gunhead had come to catch up on events. Kirishima remarked that it sounded like Izuku had a great summer, while Mina expressed her excitement for camp. Momo agreed, and 𝗏𝗱 wondered how they would improve their quirks. Kirishima then inquired about what Izuku would do at camp without a quirk. Izuku reassured them that Mr. Aizawa would have a plan for him to grow stronger. He then invited everyone to his apartment to watch a movie, and they all enthusiastically agreed. As they walked, Izuku contemplated the possibility of becoming the next user of One for All, feeling hopeful about the future. At UA, Vlad King discussed moving the camp to a different location with Aizawa, who explained that it was a precaution to keep the students safe from villains. In a villain's bar, Shigaraki instructed 𝗏𝗱 to lead the next attack, indicating that they had a new game to play. Meanwhile, Shigaraki was building a structure with cards and called for Kurojiiri to gather the others, signaling that the game was about to begin. Back at UA, Aizawa addressed the students, informing them that it was time for their training camp after completing their first semester. He emphasized the importance of pushing their limits. Class 1A responded affirmatively. Ochako expressed her excitement, asking Izuku if he felt the same. Izuku agreed, but then pointed out how close they were standing. Realizing she was just inches away from his face, Ochako blushed and apologized, while Izuku reassured her that he enjoyed being close to his girlfriend. She stepped back, still smiling and joining the others in singing about camp. Izuku thought to himself about how everyone was excited for the trip, but then a certain blonde student disrupted the mood. Monoma taunted that he had heard some from Class A were taking courses, implying they had failed their final exams. Izuku warned Monoma not to provoke him again, causing Monoma to retreat behind Tetsu in fear. Setsuna noted that Monoma seemed to have learned his lesson, while Itsuka mentioned that Izuku had defeated All Might in the final exams despite being quirkless. As Izuku waved at the girls from Class B, they blushed in response. Itsuka then called for everyone to board the bus. Izuku announced that he would not be taking the bus, shocking both classes. Ochako reminded him that he had passed the finals, but Izuku explained that he had his own means of transportation. He pressed a button on his keys, and his motorcycle appeared, leaving Class 1B in awe. Pony expressed amazement at the situation, while Ray acknowledged the impressive skills of the Class 1A students. As the vehicle reverted to its initial mode, the narrator mounted it and prepared to head towards Class 1B. Izuku noted that, despite their differences, it would be beneficial for Classes 1A and 1B to become friends, as they all had the potential to be great heroes. The students smiled, except for Monoma, who simply thanked Izuku for the compliment. Mineta began to speak, but before he could finish his thought, a well-aimed eskrima stick was thrown at his head, bouncing back to the narrator, who caught it, effectively silencing him. The girls expressed their gratitude towards Izuku. Once everyone boarded the bus and the narrator mounted their motorcycle, they set off for camp. After an hour of travel, They arrived, with the narrator being the first due to the motorcycle's speed. While waiting for the others, the narrator completed a quick set of push-ups and stretched before the rest of the group arrived. Kaminari remarked on the lengthy bus ride, and Sato asked how Izuku had gotten there first. Izuku explained that his bike was faster, and he had taken the opportunity to exercise while waiting. Mineta then announced his urgent need for a bathroom. Izuku sensed something unusual, noting their proximity to a cliff and the absence of Class 1B. Aizawa acknowledged Izuku's intuition, and Izuku pointed out the presence of a car nearby. The car doors opened, revealing 2 women and a child who introduced themselves with flair. Aizawa informed the students that these were the pro heroes they would be working with during the summer training camp. Izuku recognized them as the team specializing in mountain rescue, having been in the field for 20 years. Suddenly, one of the women attempted to grab the narrator's face, but he swiftly caught her wrist, playfully guessing her identity as Pixie Bob. Mandalay informed them that their camp was far away, prompting the narrator to hop back on the motorcycle. He suggested that everyone prepare, as he believed their training was about to begin. He sped towards Mandalay, who skillfully avoided him, causing him to leap off the edge and activate a parachute. Mina questioned when the motorcycle had acquired such a feature, and Izuku explained it was for emergencies. However, he was interrupted when Pixie Bob activated her quirk, causing the class to tumble to the ground. The narrator landed safely and quickly jumped to catch Ochako, while the others landed with a thud. Mandalay reminded them that they could use their quirks on this private land, to which Izuku replied that he didn't rely on a quirk. Pixie Bob, surprised, recognized him as Nightwing and expressed her longing for an autograph. Izuku reassured her that she could have one once they reached camp, but he preferred to avoid the spotlight. As Mineta ventured into the forest to relieve himself, he was unexpectedly attacked by a mud monster. The Class 1A students panicked, fearing for their lives, but Izuku declared he wouldn't let that happen. He pressed a button on his belt, activating his Arkham Knight suit, and charged at the creature, unleashing his power with a mighty smash that defeated the monster in an instant. Meanwhile, Aizawa and Mandalay observed the situation. Mandalay questioned Aizawa's strictness with the students, to which Aizawa replied that most of them needed it, but not Midoriya, who had faced formidable villains without relying on a quirk. Mandalay expressed her surprise at the Quirkless hero's capabilities. The bus speakers chimed in, revealing that it was indeed Nightwing speaking, and he mentioned his gadgets and motorcycle, assuring them that getting to camp would be easy. Back with the students, Kirishima praised Izuku for his impressive display, while Mineta sheepishly admitted to having relieved himself. Izuku informed everyone that more challenges were on the way and devised a plan. He instructed Momo to create wagons and ropes to attach to his motorcycle, planning to drive them to the camp. Shoji was assigned the role of lookout to gauge the approaching threats, and Izuku urged Kirishima, Shoto, and Bakugo to stay alert and defend the other students. Once everyone was settled in the wagons, the narrator revved the motorcycle, and they set off, destroying any creatures that threatened them along the way. Hours later, Aizawa and the Pussycat team saw that the students had made it to camp, albeit tired. Mandalay remarked on their timely arrival, and Pixie Bob playfully acknowledged their success against her dirt monsters, singling out the narrator for his exceptional performance. She expressed surprise at the Quirkless hero's ability to handle larger foes without a quirk and claimed dibs on him, circling around him while he attempted to ask her to stop. Aizawa inquired if Pixie Bob had always been this way, and Mandalay confirmed that it had been worse, noting her age and readiness to find a mate. Izuku politely requested that she stop, mentioning he already had a girlfriend, and pointed out the child with the red hat and golden horns. Mandalay introduced him as her cousin's son, who was living with them. As the narrator approached the child to introduce himself, Kirishima rushed over to say hello but accidentally received a punch. Concerned, Izuku checked on Kirishima, while Ida rushed to assist him, indignantly scolding the child for his actions. The child, Kuta, expressed his reluctance to associate with aspiring heroes, prompting Ida to challenge him on his dismissive attitude. "How old are you?" Bakugo acknowledged the brat's courage. Izuku noted that the other boy was quite similar to Bakugo. Bakugo questioned what Izuku had said, while Shoto agreed with Izuku's observation. Just then, Mina rushed over to them, asking if Kirishima was alright. Kirishima reassured her that he was fine. Izuku suggested that perhaps a kiss would help, turning to Mina for her opinion. Both Mina and Kirishima reacted in surprise at Izuku's comment. Aizawa intervened, instructing everyone to gather their belongings and head to the cafeteria. Later, in the cafeteria, everyone was eating heartily, while Izuku only picked at his food. Ochako asked why he wasn't eating much, to which Izuku explained that he wasn't tired from the training in the woods and wasn't particularly hungry. He offered his remaining food to Kirishima, who gratefully accepted. Pixie Bob called for 𝗏𝐻𝐻 to help her with the vegetables. Izuku noticed 𝗏𝐻𝐻 glaring at them, which caught his attention. He announced that he was heading to the hot springs and would see everyone there. Ochako agreed to meet later, but Izuku clarified that the hot springs were separated by gender, which relieved Mina. At the hot springs, Mineta commented that the food was decent but expressed his longing for attractive company. Izuku warned him to behave, while Shoto mentioned that his girlfriend was on the other side. As Shoto attempted to climb the wall using his quirk, Izuku urged him to stop. Kirishima echoed this concern, fearing that Shoto would peek at the girls. Just as Shoto neared the top, 𝗏𝐻𝐻 confronted him, advising him to be a good human before becoming a hero. 𝗏𝐻𝐻 pushed Shoto off the wall, causing him to land on Ida's face. Izuku thought this would teach Shoto a lesson, though it was unfortunate for Ida. Mina thanked 𝗏𝐻𝐻 for his intervention. However, Shoto's fall caused him to see the girls, leading to a comical nosebleed that made him tumble down. Izuku, while changing and wearing his modified boots, caught Shoto before he hit the ground and landed safely on top. Ochako asked if Shoto was okay, and Izuku confirmed that he was just knocked out and planned to take him to Mandalay. At the manager's office, Mandalay expressed gratitude for Izuku's help. Izuku inquired why 𝗏𝐻𝐻 seemed to harbor resentment towards heroes, noting that most kids admired them. Pixie Bob entered and explained that 𝗏𝐻𝐻's parents had been heroes who were tragically murdered. Mandalay added that they had died heroically, but 𝗏𝐻𝐻 struggled to believe that. Izuku empathized, sharing that he had also lost his parents and offered to talk to 𝗏𝐻𝐻 about it. Mandalay thanked him, and Izuku nodded in understanding. As he left, everyone else went to sleep, but Izuku remained awake. He went outside to practice boxing against a tree, reflecting on how both he and 𝗏𝐻𝐻 had lost their parents. He felt that no one should endure such pain, but he had the support of his friends, and perhaps he could help 𝗏𝐻𝐻 find his way to becoming a hero too. The next day, Mr. Aizawa was surprised to find them still awake and full of energy. He remarked that Izuku seemed to be in great shape. Izuku explained that he was motivated to get stronger to protect kids like 𝗏𝐻𝐻, who had lost their parents to villains. Aizawa acknowledged that All Might had made a wise choice in selecting Izuku as his successor. They noticed the other students were mostly tired. Aizawa greeted the class and announced that their training would begin, starting with Bakugo throwing a ball. Bakugo complied, launching the ball with all his strength and shouting in frustration when Aizawa announced the distance. Aizawa then encouraged Izuku to try throwing the ball while wearing his Arkham Knight suit. Once suited up, Izuku activated his quirk, pulled back his arm, and launched the ball with a powerful smash, sending it soaring far into the distance. Aizawa recorded the impressive distance, noting that most of the students hadn't improved much except for Izuku, who, despite not having a quirk, still excelled. Meanwhile, with the villains, 𝗏𝗶𝐻𝗑 asked if everyone was ready. One of the others commented on Shigaraki's childish behavior, while 𝗏𝗱𝗏 mentioned that he was well compensated for his loyalty. 𝗏𝗶𝐻𝗑 questioned what made 𝗏𝗱𝗏 special, to which 𝗏𝗱𝗏 replied that he could eliminate anyone who betrayed their group, emphasizing his connection to Stain, who wouldn't want anyone to harm him. Back at camp, Class 1B woke up and joined Vlad King to see Class 1A. Vlad King announced that it was Class 1B's turn to be in the spotlight. Izuku expressed his curiosity about what Class 1B would do for their training, but Vlad King and Class 1B were startled by his sudden appearance. The students followed their classmate to observe Izuku's class. Izuku explained that 𝗏𝐻𝐻 was working on expanding his explosive abilities, while Shoto was trying to master the combination of fire and ice. 𝗟𝗏 was focused on improving his tape shooting, and Ojiro and Kirishima were engaged in a sparring match. Denki was concentrating on using his quirk without causing trouble, and 𝐼𝐮𝐬 was attempting to communicate with animals from a distance. 𝐼𝐮𝐬 was managing his laser to avoid discomfort, and �Tokoyami was working on controlling dark shadow in the shadows. Ochako was trying to avoid feeling unwell from her quirk, Iida was pushing himself to run faster, and 𝐼𝐮𝐬 was training all her muscles. Sato was enjoying cake to boost his strength, while Momo was also indulging in cake to create more objects. Jiru and Mina were attempting to break through a mountain wall with their quirks, and Mineta was being cautious while using his quirk, while Shoji was on the lookout for Toru, who was using her stealth. Tetsu remarked on the intensity of the situation, and Izuku expressed confidence that his class would achieve their goals. Itusuka then asked Izuku why he wasn't training, to which Izuku explained that he had spent the night refining his fighting style, pointing to a tree with 2 holes that was nearly toppled over. Setsuna was surprised that he had stayed up the entire night, but Izuku reassured her that he had learned to function without sleep, recalling how he had maintained his energy during his battle with the hero killer. Mr. Aizawa approached the group, stating that they had called in professionals for assistance. Mandalay playfully announced the arrival of the Wild Pussycats, and 2 more heroes joined them, offering their help. Pixie Bob introduced herself as a cute, cat-like hero, while Ragdoll explained her quirk, which allowed her to locate and learn about the weaknesses of up to 100 people. Pixie Bob mentioned her Earth Flow quirk, which would be useful in the training ground, and Mandalay shared that her telepathy allowed her to advise multiple people simultaneously. Tiger introduced himself, declaring his intent to challenge the students. Bakugo expressed his frustration, and Tiger announced a boot camp for those with strength quirks. Izuku then suggested a sparring match with Tiger, eager for a challenge. They moved to an open area, and as Izuku attempted to punch Tiger, he dodged and countered with a kick that sent Izuku crashing into a tree. Izuku laughed, finding humor in the pain, and told Tiger that he now had permission to bring the fight. Tiger charged at Izuku, who skillfully flipped over him and landed a kick on his back. Tiger was surprised to be hit, and Izuku assured him there was more to come. Using his modified boots, Izuku caught up to Tiger's speed and delivered a punch to his face. Acting quickly, he grabbed Tiger's arm and pinned it behind his back, forcing him to tap out in defeat. Izuku thanked Tiger for the match, and Tiger acknowledged Izuku's skill and heart, noting that he was already surpassing the rest of Class 1A and 1B. Izuku mentioned that he had learned from Gunhead and his father, then walked over to Mandalay to give her a message for Koda, asking her to pass along a white box labeled, "For Koda." She accepted it, and Izuku returned to his friends. Later, Pixie Bob reminded everyone that they needed to prepare their own food, starting with curry, which elicited groans from Class 1A and 1B. Izuku expressed his enthusiasm, explaining that he had learned to cook and clean after his parents passed away, with some help from Gunhead. Todoroki was using fire to cook for everyone, even though Kaken had accidentally destroyed his oven. Once the fire was lit, it was time to begin cooking. After a brief time skip, the cooking was complete, and they all sat down to eat. Izuku admitted that the food was delicious, but he didn't eat much. Much later, it became evident that Momo was consuming a significant amount of food. Mina commented on the quantity, suggesting it might be excessive. Momo explained that her quirk allowed her to transform lipids into new atoms to create organic material, meaning the more she ate, the more objects she could produce. 𝐼𝐻𝐬 made a light-hearted remark, comparing it to how waste works, which caused Momo to feel down. In response, Todoroki intervened and urged 𝐼𝐻𝐬 to apologize, which he did, albeit reluctantly. Meanwhile, I noticed Koda observing us, so I decided to bring him some curry. I found him gazing up at the stars near a cave, where I spotted the box I had given to Mandalay, still unopened. Approaching him, I offered the curry, which surprised him. He questioned how I had found him, and I admitted to following him. Koda expressed his frustration, accusing us of wanting to show off and told me to leave. I mentioned that I had heard about his parents, who were water hose heroes. When he asked if Mandalay had told me, I shared my own experience of loss, revealing that I understood his pain. I recounted how my parents had died while protecting me during a robbery, emphasizing that I knew how it felt to lose loved ones. I encouraged him to open the box I had worked hard to create for him. As I departed, Koda approached the box and opened it, revealing a hero suit along with a staff, a grapple gun, and ninja stars shaped like an R. The suit was a vibrant mix of red, green, and yellow on one side, with black on the other, and featured a yellow R on the chest. He was astonished, realizing that I wanted him to become a hero too. After my conversation with 𝐻𝐻𝐬, I returned to join the others. Meanwhile, the villains had arrived at their camp. Toga expressed her dissatisfaction with her mask, claiming it wasn't cute, while Mustard reminded her that it was sourced from the black market and she needed to adjust. Toga simply wanted something stylish. Magna apologized for the delay, and Moonfish urged everyone to get to work. Another villain with purple hair, resembling a ninja reptile, joined them. 𝗟𝐷𝐵 noted that their group had grown to 7 members. The newcomer was eager to get started, but 𝗟𝐷𝐵 warned him to keep quiet, stating they needed a few more members to make their plan effective. He emphasized that their goal was to disrupt the peace and show everyone that their lives rested in the villain's hands. Toga inquired about the Quirkless boy, to which 𝗟𝐵𝐵 assured her they could handle him since he was unaware of their abilities. The following day, Kirishima, Mina, Sato, 𝗏𝗏, and Kaminari met with Aizawa, who reminded them that there would be no resting. They all focused on their studies, while the rest of the group was engaged in their own activities. I noticed that the other teachers were absent, likely to prevent a villain attack. Aizawa confirmed my suspicion and acknowledged that All Might was the League's primary target. I pointed out that I was also a target due to my past encounters with villains, to which Aizawa agreed. Later, Kaken demonstrated impressive knife skills, prompting Ochako to ask how he had become so adept. I explained that he had learned from his mother, which made her laugh. Shoto asked about my whereabouts the previous night, and I revealed that I had spoken with Kota, Mandalay's cousin's son. I speculated that Kota had gone to his hideout, and I shared that he was not fond of heroes or quirks, but I was determined to continue encouraging him. That night, 𝗏𝐵𝐵 announced that everything was ready for the test of courage. Mina expressed excitement about the event, while Aizawa reminded everyone that the media class would be having lessons with him that night, much to Mina's dismay. 𝗏𝐵𝐵 explained the rules. Class 1B would act as the scarers, while Class A would work in pairs to collect tags with their names. Tokoyami remarked on the rivalry aspect, and Ochako questioned his repetitive phrasing. 𝗏𝐵𝐵 assured them they could use their quirks against the scares, while Tiger added that the winners would be those who scared the most students. Jiro questioned the necessity of that statement, and 𝗏𝐵𝐵 instructed everyone to draw for partners, leading me to realize that with 5 students absent, we would have to adjust our team arrangements. Izuku found himself alone, as Kirishima and Mina were occupied with 𝗏𝗏, Sato, and Kaminari for extra lessons. Ochako expressed her concern, wondering if he would be all right. Izuku reassured her that he was fine with handling things on his own, but it was the camaraderie of fighting alongside her and the others that truly motivated him. Moments later, 𝗏𝐵𝐵 called for the next team, and Izuku wished Ochako good luck. She thanked him, though a sense of fear crept in as she admitted her anxiety about the upcoming challenge. Tsuyu speculated that Izuku's lack of fear might stem from the loss of his parents, prompting Ochako to request a change of subject. Tsuyu then asked how many dates Ochako had been on with Izuku, to which she replied with a surprising number. Tsuyu shared her own experiences with Tokoyami, mentioning their soft kiss, which intrigued Ochako. Meanwhile, in Class 1B, Juzo and Kendo discussed their classmates, noting the difficulty in scaring Izuku. Juzo was confident that Izuku would still get scared, but Kendo sensed something unusual in the air. They soon realized there was a burning smell nearby, and Juzo pointed out the presence of gas, suggesting that Bakugo and Todoroki might have fainted from fear. Back with the others, 𝗏𝐵𝐵 detected an odd smell, prompting Izuku to alert everyone to the smoke. He quickly concluded that it was a villain attack and urged Mandalay to take the students to safety. As he suited up, 𝗟𝗏𝐵 ignited the forest with his blue flames, declaring the beginning of their assault. Just then, 𝗏𝐵𝐵 was captured, confused about what was happening as 𝗟𝗏𝐵 threatened to take them all down. Mineta panicked, wondering what they should do. Izuku attempted to use his wingdings against the villains, but they dodged. He then employed his grapple gun to rescue 𝗏𝐵𝐵, pulling her to safety while the wingdings exploded near the villains. A sudden thought struck him. He needed to find 𝐻𝐻𝐬. In a flashback, 𝐼𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐬 had reassured 𝐻𝐻𝐬 that one day he would meet someone willing to risk their life for him, a sentiment he doubted. Suddenly, he noticed the forest was ablaze, and confusion filled him. Earlier, the failed students had been dragged by 𝐼𝐻𝐬 to a building for study, where they encountered 𝐼𝐼𝐻𝐬. 𝐼𝐻𝐬 suggested starting with the basics, and 𝗟𝗏 agreed. 𝐼𝐼𝐻𝐬 then warned everyone about the two villains attacking, instructing them to return to camp without engaging. 𝐼𝐻𝐬 insisted on staying with the students, but as he exited, he was confronted by 𝗟𝗶𝐻𝗸, who dismissed him, stating they had not come for him. Back with Izuku, Spinner introduced himself as a member of the League of Villains, claiming to be a follower of Stain. Tenya recognized them as followers, while Spinner pointed out Izuku, the one responsible for Stain's demise, expressing his longing to fight him. As Spinner prepared to attack with a weapon made of combined swords, a gunshot rang out, causing his weapon to fly from his grasp. A mysterious figure announced their arrival, declaring they had made it to the party. Panic erupted as everyone began to flee. A man attempted to strike with his sword, prompting me to grab 𝐻𝐻𝐬 and leap aside. I quickly reached into my backpack, retrieving my mask, 𝗟𝗏𝐻𝐻 sticks, tech gloves, gauntlets, utility belt, and modified boots to confront him. Shigaraki urged 𝗟𝗱𝗏 to hurry, but 𝗟𝗱𝗏 was preoccupied. Each kick I delivered was met with a block, and every slash he made, I dodged. I managed to gain the upper hand and landed several punches, but he skillfully reversed our positions, seizing my arm and forcing me to strike myself. It felt as if we were evenly matched. Ultimately, he captured Shigaraki and made his escape. I found myself on my knees, but on the bright side, my friends and the others were safe. Soon, I was embraced by everyone, though I noticed 𝐻𝐻𝐬 was in tears. Concerned, I asked her what was wrong. She expressed her sorrow, feeling that if she hadn't been there, I wouldn't have risked my life for others. I reassured her that it was a hero's duty to protect everyone, emphasizing that I also wanted to keep her safe. She and everyone else were my only family, and I couldn't bear to lose them. With our supplies secured, we departed from the mall. The following days felt like a temporary reprieve, but the fight was far from over. We continued our training, and questions lingered in my mind about the man I had fought and the whereabouts of Red Hood. For now, my focus was on my friends, and if Shigaraki or any other villains dared to show up, they would be in for a surprise. Meanwhile, in the villains' bar, the television broadcasted All Might's achievements until Kurohige sucked it off. Shigaraki smirked, contemplating how everything was All Might's fault, while Kurohige recounted the events of the past semester. Kurohige spoke of Izuku Midoriya, often referred to as the Quirkless boy, who had now gained recognition as Nightwing. His parents had been tragically murdered in an alley, and he had emerged victorious in the sports festival, defeating the hero killer, which led to Stain's demise. It was rumored that Stain wanted Izuku to dismantle the League once and for all. As Shigaraki wandered through the alley, he pondered a world without the symbol of peace and how society would react to such a change. In my room, I was watching old family videos alongside clips of All Might while engaging in an acrobatic workout. I mentioned my motorcycle, which I had named the Night Cycle, a nod to my alias, Nightwing. My friends admired the bike, with Setsuna calling it awesome and Tetsu declaring it manly. Kirishima encouraged me to show them more, and I prepared to demonstrate its second mode. Red Hood made an appearance. Izuku wondered what he was doing there. Red Hood explained that he was taking down the bad guys and mentioned that 𝗟𝗱𝗏 was also present, greeting Ida. Tenya returned the greeting. 𝗟𝗏𝐿 insisted that the kids should return to camp while she, Tiger, and perhaps Red Hood would handle the situation. Red Hood affirmed his allegiance to their side. Izuku decided to stay, feeling he could use a warm-up, but first, he needed to find 𝐻𝐻𝐬. 𝗟𝗏𝐿 admitted she didn't know where 𝐻𝐻𝐬 was, but Izuku claimed he did and requested the three of them to cover him. Red Hood agreed, wishing him safety as Izuku hopped on his motorcycle. He promised to return and help them. 𝗟𝗏𝐿 assured him they would be waiting. As he drove off, Izuku's thoughts were focused on 𝐻𝐻𝐬, reassuring him that he was on his way. In 𝐻𝐻𝐬's perspective, he felt scared. He could hear 𝗟𝗏𝐿's voice using her quirk, but a man in a black robe was approaching him. The box Izuku had given him was behind the man. If only he could react quickly enough to grab it. The man approached, commenting on how he had found someone alone and complimenting 𝐻𝐻𝐬's hat, suggesting a trade for his mask. He removed his mask, and 𝐻𝐻𝐬 took off running, but the man used his quirk to block his path. When 𝐻𝐻𝐬 looked at the man's face, he recognized him from a news story. He was the one who had murdered his parents. 𝐻𝐻𝐬 felt a chill as he realized who it was. Just as the man raised his arm to strike, 𝐻𝐻𝐬 was suddenly grabbed by someone. It was Izuku. The villain recognized Izuku as the quirkless hero who had defeated 𝐼𝐻𝐬 and noted his impressive fighting style. Izuku's thoughts were consumed with the need to protect 𝐻𝐻𝐬, determined not to let the villain harm him, especially since he was the one responsible for 𝐻𝐻𝐬's parents. Thus, he vowed to save 𝐻𝐻𝐬. Meanwhile, Bakugo and Shoto were trying to understand what was happening. Bakugo expressed his frustration, while Shoto noted that it was a villain attack, urging them to return to the others. They spotted a figure ahead, noticing a severed hand. Moonfish savored the moment, relishing the chaos. Bakugo questioned the rules of engagement. Back with Mandalay, Spinner accused the heroes of being self-serving. Mandalay skillfully used her quirk while dodging attacks, playfully complimenting Spinner, who blushed in response. Just then, Red Hood intervened, kicking Spinner in the face and teasing him about being distracted by a hero. Mandalay blushed at the compliment. Suddenly, Magna used his quirk to pull Mandalay toward him, slamming her with Pixie Bob. Red Hood quickly shot Magna's weapon out of his hands and punched Tiger, declaring he wouldn't let the same trick work twice. He then caught Mandalay in a bridal carry, causing her to blush again. She thanked him, and he reminded her to stay focused as they were in the middle of a fight. Mandalay sensed something was wrong, revealing that Tiger Ragdoll wasn't communicating with her. Back to Izuku, Muscular taunted him, questioning his ability to save 𝐻𝐻𝐬. Muscular charged at Izuku, who grabbed his 𝐒𝐮𝐬 sticks and leaped off a wall, striking Muscular in the face. Muscular acknowledged Izuku's strength and inquired about Bakugo's whereabouts. Izuku realized they were after 𝐾𝐿. He charged at Muscular, delivering a powerful blow to his gut and following up with an uppercut. However, Muscular retaliated with a knee to Izuku's gut, raising both hands to slam down on him. Izuku activated his Arkham Knight suit for protection. Muscular noted the bat-like features of Izuku's suit and prepared to break him. Izuku clarified that he was not a bat but Nightwing, launching explosive wingdings at Muscular. Muscular used his muscles as a shield, but the attack caused him pain. Izuku then charged one for all to 20% and struck Muscular's arm, but Muscular countered with a punch that sent Izuku flying. 𝐻𝐻𝐬, filled with anger, confronted Muscular about the lecture he might have given when he killed 𝐻𝐻𝐬's parents. Muscular coldly admitted he killed people who got in his way. Izuku vowed to protect 𝐻𝐻𝐬, promising he wouldn't let him die like his parents. Charging one for all to 100%, Izuku rushed at Muscular, who sensed something was different. Izuku unleashed a powerful attack, creating an explosion as he struck Muscular and then leaped to grab 𝐻𝐻𝐬, ensuring he wouldn't be harmed. He checked on 𝐻𝐻𝐬, who confirmed he was okay. Just when Izuku thought the danger had passed, he saw Muscular still standing and charging at them. He urged 𝐻𝐻𝐬 to hold on and run, but 𝐻𝐻𝐬 hesitated, worried about Izuku's safety. Izuku reassured him, insisting he would be fine. As they collided in battle, Izuku felt himself weakening. Muscular relished the struggle, demanding to see Izuku's BLD. Izuku's thoughts turned to his parents, apologizing for not living up to their expectations as the first quirkless hero. He expressed his regrets to his friends, feeling the weight of their expectations. Just as Muscular prepared to finish him off, he was struck in the shoulder by a ninja star, which caught his attention. It wasn't one of Izuku's wingdings but a star shaped like an R. After the intense battle with Muscular and 𝐻𝐻𝐬's newfound admiration for heroes, he expressed his longing for Robin to mentor him in becoming a hero. Izuku informed 𝐻𝐻𝐬 that he would be known to the world as Robin, a name that 𝐻𝐻𝐬 liked. They needed to move quickly to assist their classmates who were in danger. Izuku explained that villains were attempting to capture his classmates, and they needed to inform Mr. Aizawa and the other pussycats as soon as they found one of them. 𝐻𝐻𝐬, however, was determined to help and insisted that he wanted to be part of the action, believing he could contribute and learn from the experience. Izuku, though concerned for Koda's safety, ultimately agreed to let him join as long as he stayed behind. Meanwhile, earlier in the confrontation, 𝐷𝐵 acknowledged Aizawa's skill after witnessing him skillfully evade an attack using his scarf. As 𝐷𝐵 prepared for another strike, Aizawa seized the opportunity to pull him in and delivered a swift knee to 𝐷𝐵's face, followed by a grappling maneuver that restrained him. Aizawa demanded to know the whereabouts of 𝐷𝐵's allies, threatening further consequences if he did not comply. 𝐷𝐵, unfazed, taunted Aizawa, suggesting he could take his time. Just then Iida and several others arrived on the scene, ready to assist. Aizawa warned 𝐷𝐵 to stay back. Although 𝐷𝐵 had escaped his restraints, he was still bound, prompting Aizawa to tighten his scarf. As 𝐷𝐵 began to melt, Aizawa's thoughts raced, realizing that the fire was not a result of 𝐷𝐵's quirk. Mineta observed the scene, astonished at 𝐷𝐵's transformation. Aizawa dashed past them, instructing everyone to get inside. Meanwhile, Twice encouraged 𝐷𝐵, teasing him about being defeated by a magic scarf. 𝐷𝐵 dismissed the comment, claiming it was weak and urging Twice to create another distraction. Back with Izuku and Kota, they spotted Aizawa to their right. Izuku called out to him, relieved to see that he was safe and that Kota was with him. Aizawa expressed his gratitude for their safety but emphasized the urgency of the situation. Izuku insisted he needed to help the others, and Aizawa reluctantly allowed Kota to accompany him, trusting Izuku to keep him safe. Izuku, feeling determined, rallied Kota to follow him. As they left, Aizawa pondered the nickname Izuku had given him, Robin. Meanwhile, Mandalay and Tiger were engaged in a fierce battle against Magna. Tiger struggled to understand how Magna was anticipating his moves. Mandalay and Red Hood continued to evade Spinner's attacks, but fatigue was setting in for Mandalay and Tiger, while Red Hood remained energized. He assisted Tiger by landing blows on Magna, but when he noticed Mandalay was in danger, he rushed to her aid. As Spinner raised his weapon, Red Hood intervened, engaging in a struggle for control. Red Hood declared he wouldn't let Spinner harm Mandalay, while Spinner mocked him for showing compassion. Just then, a powerful kick shattered Spinner's weapon, and everyone turned to see Izuku had arrived. He informed Mandalay that Kota was safe with him. As Kota charged at Spinner, he landed a kick to his face and aimed Mandalay's staff at Spinner's leg, causing him to wince in pain. They landed in front of Red Hood, who noticed Kota was wearing a hero costume. Red Hood questioned Izuku about Kota's delay, and Izuku urged him to focus on the fight, asking Mandalay to use her quirk to inform everyone they could use their abilities to defend themselves. Mandalay complied, announcing that they had permission to protect themselves. She then expressed concern for Kota's safety and questioned his choice of attire. Kota confidently stated that Izuku had taught him what it meant to be a hero and that he was determined to follow in his footsteps. Red Hood acknowledged Kota's bravery, and Izuku rallied everyone to teach the villains a lesson about harming their friends. As they prepared for battle, Red Hood explained he had joined the fight due to 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 and the villains but was motivated by the bond he saw between Izuku and Kota. He threw a smoke grenade at Spinner and Magna, then tossed Mandalay toward Spinner while Tiger charged at Magna. The smoke provided Mandalay and Tiger the opportunity to strike effectively. Izuku praised Red Hood for his strategy, and Mandalay expressed her relief at finally landing a solid hit. She playfully scolded Red Hood for throwing her without warning but leaned in closer, teasing him about what he might have seen. Red Hood, caught off guard, urged them to move quickly. As they continued their escape, Mandalay sent a message indicating that they were pursuing Bakugo. Tiger teased Mandalay about her feelings for Red Hood, to which she admitted her gratitude for his help. In another part of the woods, Shoto and Bakugo were racing toward the villains. Shoto used his quirk to prepare for an attack, but Bakugo charged ahead recklessly. Moonfish taunted them, insisting he would keep going. Shoto warned Bakugo about the dangers of using his explosions, but Bakugo shrugged it off, blaming Izuku for the situation. Meanwhile, Kendo and Tetsu devised a plan to locate the source of the grass that Mandalay had mentioned. They confronted a villain named Mustard, who boasted about his gas. Tetsu attempted a sneak attack, but Mustard fired his weapon, causing Tetsu to stumble back. Mustard mocked them for their efforts, but just as he was about to take aim again, 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 took the shot for Kendo. Kendo rushed to 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧's side, concerned about his injury. 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 assured her he was fine, but Mustard taunted them, preparing to finish them off. Just then, Izuku crashed down, kicking Mustard's weapon away and preparing to fight back. He was knocked out, and the gas had dissipated. Izuku turned to Itsuka and 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 and walked toward them. Itsuka rushed at him and embraced him, tears streaming down her face. She expressed her gratitude, relieved that they had not lost him. 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 acknowledged Izuku with a nod, thanking him for his help. Izuku reassured them that everything was fine since the threat was neutralized. As he turned around, he noticed Mustard beginning to rise. Mustard recognized him as the Quirkless hero, Nightwing, and expressed his longing to meet him, mentioning the unfortunate fate of Izuku's parents. Mustard then brandished another weapon, aiming it at Izuku. Izuku instructed Itsuka to stay behind him. Mustard taunted him, but Izuku swiftly threw another wingding at the weapon, then approached and delivered a decisive blow to Mustard's face. He informed Itsuka and 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 that they needed to head to camp, urging them to be safe. Just then, 𝗟𝗶𝗸 and 𝗏𝗏 arrived. 𝗟𝗏𝗸 teased Izuku about Itsuka's feelings, but Izuku clarified that he was already in a relationship. 𝗏𝗏 approached Mustard and placed 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸 on him, signaling that it was time to move on. As they continued, a massive hand was suddenly launched at them, but they managed to dodge it. They found Shoji, one of whose tentacles was injured. Izuku asked what had happened, and Shoji explained that they had been attacked by a villain. He had defended them, but the villain had said something about 𝗟𝗍𝐸 that triggered Tokoyami's quirk. Izuku realized the urgency of the situation and understood that to reach the others, they would have to confront Dark Shadow. Tokoyami warned everyone to keep their distance, threatening dire consequences. The four friends took their fighting stances, ready for whatever was to come. 𝗟𝗏𝗸, though nervous, expressed that it would take more than intimidation to frighten him. 𝗏𝗏 questioned Izuku, unsure if they could manage the situation. Izuku reassured them that they had to save everyone but insisted they should not harm Tokoyami. Tokoyami let out a fearsome roar, and Izuku's thoughts turned to Shigaraki, vowing to confront him for his actions. The scene was tense, and the urgency was palpable. Shoji pointed out that in order to reach the others, they needed to confront Dark Shadow. The monstrous figure roared again, and the friends were struck with dread at the transformation of their ally. Tokoyami repeated his warning, charging at them, prompting the group to hide in nearby bushes. 𝗏𝗏 expressed concern over what had happened to Tokoyami, while 𝗟𝗏𝗸 questioned the source of his anger. Shoji explained that during their earlier encounter with a villain, one of his limbs had been injured, and the threat to 𝗟𝗍𝐸 had enraged both Dark Shadow and Tokoyami. Izuku noted that Tokoyami's quirk often became unpredictable at night, but this was beyond anything they had anticipated. 𝗟𝗏𝗸 accidentally stepped on a twig, revealing their hiding spot, and Dark Shadow lunged at them. They quickly dodged out of the way. Tokoyami urged them to leave and help the other students, specifically asking them to get Tsu away from him. Shoji suggested that since Tokoyami's weakness was light, they needed to lure him toward a fire. Izuku insisted they had to act quickly. Shoji offered to confront Tokoyami alone, believing he could handle it, but 𝗏𝗏 protested, worried for his safety. Shoji reassured them, emphasizing the hero's duty. Izuku then proposed a plan to draw Tokoyami toward Todoroki and Bakugo, who could use their flames to weaken Dark Shadow. 𝗟𝗏𝗸 inquired how they would get him to follow. Izuku instructed 𝗏𝗏 to check his pockets for flashbang grenades. 𝗏𝗏 confirmed he had them, and Shoji was surprised by their presence. Izuku explained he was always prepared for any situation. With 𝗏𝗏 ready, Shoji hoped their plan would succeed. Meanwhile, Shoto and Bakugo were engaged in their own battle. Moonfish taunted them, craving flesh. Bakugo was eager to attack. Suddenly, they heard a sound of destruction, and Izuku spotted ice in the distance. The group ran with Dark Shadow pursuing them, while 𝗏𝗏, 𝗟𝗏𝗸, and Izuku threw flashbang grenades to keep the creature's attention focused on them. Shoji called out to Bakugo and Todoroki, hoping for their assistance. A shadow loomed over the moonlit scene as Dark Shadow landed atop Moonfish. The group had finally reached their destination. 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐬 urged everyone to help, but 𝐵𝐵𝐸 held him back for a moment. Moonfish, with a sinister intent, declared his need for flesh, specifically targeting 𝐶𝐻𝐬. This provoked 𝗏𝐾𝐽, who, fueled by anger, charged at Moonfish, momentarily distracting him and creating an opening for 𝐵𝐵𝐸 and 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐬. 𝐵𝐵𝐸, confident in their advantage, commanded 𝗏𝐾𝐽 to finish the fight. 𝗟𝗏𝐻𝐻 hurled Moonfish against a tree, and as Todoroki and 𝐵𝐵𝐸 attacked, 𝗟𝗏𝐻𝐻 retreated back into 𝗏𝐾𝐽. 𝐵𝐵𝐸 taunted 𝗏𝐾𝐽, reminding him of their rivalry, to which 𝗏𝐾𝐽 expressed his gratitude. Shoji checked on 𝗏𝐾𝐽, who felt remorse for losing control and hurting others in his rage over the threat to 𝐶𝐻𝐬. Shoji promised to address that later, as Red Hood interjected, asking Nightwing if he would reveal something to the group. Izuku, realizing the moment, pointed out 𝐻𝐻𝐬, who stood nearby. Everyone turned their attention to him. Izuku reminded them that 𝐻𝐻𝐻 was 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐬's nephew and that he had something to share. 𝐻𝐻𝐻 boldly declared his aspiration to become a hero like Izuku, claiming the title of Robin, which 𝐵𝐵𝐸 scoffed at. 𝐻𝐻𝐻 retorted that at least Izuku was more heroic than 𝐵𝐵𝐸, igniting a brief argument that Izuku interrupted, reminding them that villains were still a threat. Shoto questioned why the villains would target 𝐻𝐻𝐻, and Izuku admitted he didn't know. Red Hood speculated that it was due to 𝐻𝐻𝐻's personality and fighting style, suggesting he would make a formidable villain. He urged the kids to return to camp for safety. Izuku pointed out that 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐻 and the others were still engaged in battle, and heading back would only lead the villains to them. They decided to forge ahead instead. 𝗏𝐾𝐽 raised concerns about other villains lurking in the forest, prompting Izuku to check a device on his belt. He discovered that Ochako and Tsuyu were still in the area and suggested they help them return to camp. Red Hood volunteered to assist 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐻, ensuring the path was clear for the kids. As they prepared to leave, 𝐻𝐻𝐻 wondered if Red Hood had feelings for 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐻, to which Izuku playfully suggested he might become 𝐻𝐻𝐻's new uncle. Meanwhile, 5 minutes earlier, Ochako reassured Tsuyu that her arm was fine despite a recent attack. They had been ambushed by a villain in a schoolgirl uniform, who wielded a knife, and 𝗏𝐵H𝐻𝐻 Toga introduced herself, complimenting Ochako and Tsuyu, leaving them bewildered by her knowledge of their identities. As Toga expressed her need for more 𝐵𝐻𝐻, she revealed a machine connected to a needle, charging at them. Tsuyu used her quirk to throw Ochako to safety, insisting she would follow closely behind. Just as Tsuyu attempted to escape, Toga caught her hair with a needle, declaring her newfound friendship. Toga drew closer, commenting on Tsuyu's bleeding, suggesting it would make her even cuter. Ochako rushed to Tsuyu's aid, but Toga retaliated with her knife. Thanks to Izuku's training, Ochako managed to subdue Toga momentarily. Tsuyu praised Ochako's bravery, but Toga's taunts about their relationship caught them off guard. In the chaos, Toga jabbed a needle into Ochako's leg, attempting to drain her 𝐻𝐻𝐻. Just then, Izuku arrived, launching himself at Toga and kicking her away. He quickly tended to Ochako's wounds with a mini-med kit from his belt. As Toga realized reinforcements had arrived, she decided to flee, leaving behind a cryptic smile. Shoji helped Tsuyu down from the tree, and Izuku expressed relief that both girls were safe. 𝐻𝐻𝐻 noted that the villains seemed intimidated by their teamwork. Ochako recognized 𝐻𝐻𝐻 as 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐻's nephew and learned he would be training with Izuku. However, they soon realized 𝐵𝐵𝐸 and 𝗏𝐾𝐽 were missing. 𝗏𝐻𝐻 voiced his confusion, and a mysterious figure appeared in the trees, dressed in a coat, top hat, and mask. The figure introduced himself as Mr. 𝗏𝗏𝐻𝗄 and claimed he had taken 𝐵𝐵𝐸 with his magic. Izuku demanded 𝐵𝐵𝐸's return, asserting that he was his own person. Mr. 𝗏𝗏𝗄 dismissed their threats, explaining that he had also captured 𝗏𝗏𝐽 due to his potential. Tensions rose as Izuku and Tsuyu insisted on reclaiming their friends, while Mr. 𝗏𝗏𝗄 evaded their attacks with ease. 𝗏𝗏𝗄 announced the arrival of the action squad, stating that he had captured 𝐵𝐵𝐸 along with an additional individual, and they needed to regroup. Shoto expressed concern that 𝐵𝐸 would be taken away, while Izuku declared that he wouldn't allow that to happen. Meanwhile, 𝗟𝗶𝗍 and 𝗏𝗏𝗏 were discussing the situation. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 mentioned that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 had captured someone, and he was starting to feel bored. 𝗟𝗶𝗍 dismissed his complaint, acknowledging 𝐼𝐻𝐿's good work. As they moved forward, they were unaware that 𝐼𝐻𝐬 was hiding nearby, contemplating whether to attack now that the gas had dissipated. However, when 𝐼𝐻𝐬 peeked out, 𝐼𝐻𝐵 spotted him. 𝐼𝐵 began to approach the bush, but twice interrupted, suggesting they call back the 𝗰𝐽 before it reached the Quirkless kid. 𝐼𝐵 agreed. Elsewhere, Momo was in a vulnerable state, being carried by a fellow student as they fled from a 𝗰𝐽. 𝐒𝐻𝐬 expressed concern about their situation. Just as the 𝗰𝐽 was about to strike, it suddenly recoiled in pain. Momo looked on in shock as the creature was shot in the head multiple times, causing it to collapse. 𝗟𝗶𝗸 emerged from the shadows, ensuring the 𝗰𝐽 was incapacitated. He then placed something on its back before turning to assist Momo. Grateful yet curious, Momo asked who he was. 𝗟𝗶𝗸 introduced himself as a friend of Midoriya and Iida, urging her to move quickly. As they walked, 𝗟𝗏𝗸 noticed 𝗟𝗏𝐿 and Tiger apprehending Magna and Spinner. 𝗟𝗏𝐿 declared that this was the end for the villains. 𝗟𝗏𝗸 complimented her efforts, and she inquired about Momo's condition. 𝗟𝗏𝗸 reassured her that Momo was injured but would survive. 𝗟𝗏𝐿 asked for 𝐻NDCFFS, specifying they were for Spinner, but with a playful hint that they could also be for 𝗟𝗏𝗸. He handed her the cuffs, and Spinner interrupted, expressing his longing to fight Nightwing. 𝗟𝗏𝐿, blushing, told him to be quiet and playfully pushed his arm up to cause him discomfort. 𝗟𝗏𝗸 admired her strength, warning Spinner to remain silent or face consequences. 𝗂𝐻𝐬 then appeared alongside Deathstroke, prompting 𝗟𝗏𝗸 to acknowledge Slade's presence. Back with Izuku, Shoto noted the speed of their opponent, but Izuku was confident they could keep up. He and Kota leaped from tree to close the gap. Izuku devised a plan, instructing Kota to hold on while 𝗟𝗏𝗏 transformed into Shoji and Todoroki. At the right moment, Tsuyu would launch them with her tongue. Shoji called them human bullets, and Ochako agreed to be careful. Tsuyu added a request to retrieve Tokoyami. Izuku assured them they would be ready. As they prepared, 𝗏𝗶 was joined by Toga, who complained about being the only one present. 𝗏𝗏 pointed out that he and others were there too, and Toga mentioned she could have captured more but had encountered the Quirkless individual, whom she found adorable. 𝗏𝗏 scolded her for being too loud. Suddenly, Mr. 𝗏𝗄𝗻 landed nearby in pain, with Izuku and Kota on top of him, followed by Shoto and Shoji. Twice recognized the kids and questioned who they were. Kota boldly announced that they were the dynamic duo, Nightwing and Robin, demanding the villains surrender. The scene set up an intense confrontation, with the heroes presenting two options: either return Bakugo and Tokoyami and leave peacefully, or face the consequences. One hero brandished a staff, another cracked his knuckles, one conjured flames, another encased his hand in ice, and the final hero prepared with two 𝐒𝐮𝐲 sticks, ready for battle. Nightwing declared they would have to defeat the villains to rescue their friends. With the other students gathered, Kirishima urged everyone to take action, insisting they couldn't allow their friends to be harmed. Vlad firmly denied their request to leave. Tenya suggested they leave the situation to the professional heroes and 𝗟𝗏𝗸, expressing concern about the number of villains they might face. Mineta questioned the trustworthiness of 𝗟𝗏𝗸, while Tenya defended him, citing his past heroics in saving his brother. Vlad reminded them that only those in the forest were permitted to use their quirks, and Mina voiced her worry for Midoriya's safety. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps approached, and Ojiro speculated it might be Mr. Aizawa. Kirishima, spotting a shadowy figure, warned everyone to get down just as a burst of blue fire erupted nearby. Mineta recognized the figure as the one who had previously transformed into a puddle. Vlad tackled 𝗏𝗶𝗏, asserting that he had underestimated them. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 taunted them, predicting that people would soon lose faith in heroes if they discovered that a student had been kidnapped, or worse, if a student without a quirk had died. Kirishima shouted for 𝗏𝗏𝗏 to be quiet, while Mina vowed they wouldn't let him harm their friend. Denki added that they would protect their friends. The students readied their quirks, and even 𝗏𝗏𝗏 ignited his flames. Just then, Mr. Aizawa revealed that the figure was a decoy, having encountered another fake earlier. He instructed Vlad to look after the others, explaining that the fakes were merely distractions while the real threat remained outside. Kirishima felt encouraged, believing that if there were only a few villains, they could fight them. However, Aizawa cautioned that if more of them ventured outside, they risked capture and should remain where they were. Meanwhile, Izuku instructed Koda to shield himself with his cape as 𝗂𝐷𝐵 unleashed flames toward them. They braced for impact, but Shoji's arms caught fire as he prepared to defend against a black and white villain wielding measuring tape. Toga, the girl who had attacked Ochako, threw a needle at Izuku, but he dodged it. Toga introduced herself to Izuku and playfully tackled him, suggesting he would look cuter covered in BLD. As she raised her knife, Izuku used his gauntlets to block her attack. Robin warned Izuku just in time, and Toga looked up to see Koda using his staff as a pole vault, kicking her in the face before landing gracefully and helping Izuku up. Nightwing expressed his gratitude, and Robin reassured him it was no trouble. Toga, frustrated, warned Koda not to interfere, threatening to cut him as well. Meanwhile, Todoroki engaged twice, using his ice powers, while Mr. Compress approached 𝗂𝐵, confirming he had captured Bakugo. As he rummaged through his pockets, he produced some small marbles. Shoji called out to Midoriya, Koda, and Todoroki, suggesting they could leave now that Bakugo and Tokoyami were secured. Robin agreed, and Shoto affirmed their plan. As they began to retreat, they noticed Izuku had not moved. Shoto inquired about Izuku's hesitation, reminding him they had Bakugo and Tokoyami. Izuku, however, sensed something was wrong, realizing the villains had given up too easily. He turned to face the villains, dismissing their illusions and throwing a wingding at one of their masks. The mask flew off, revealing two marbles that contained the real Bakugo and Tokoyami. He quickly grabbed the marbles and rushed back to his friends, but they soon encountered a Nomu blocking their path. Koda urged them to turn back, but they found Kurojirai waiting for them. From his portal emerged Red Hood, who tackled Deathstroke. Kurojirai opened portals, allowing Toga, Twice, and the Nomu to escape while Izuku still held onto Tokoyami and Baku. Mr. Compress acknowledged Izuku's cleverness in uncovering his secrets, while 𝗂𝐵 refused to give up easily and charged at them. Shoto stepped in to confront 𝗂𝐵. Izuku instructed Shoji to take Koda to safety and to hand over Tokoyami, while he stayed behind to negotiate with the villains. Koda cautioned Nightwing to be careful, and Izuku reassured him he would be fine. Red Hood and Deathstroke exchanged blows, with Red Hood landing punches and kicks. Though Deathstroke managed to knock him down, Red Hood retaliated, causing Deathstroke to stumble. Izuku, noticing Shoto in danger from 𝗂𝐵's flames, rushed in and kicked 𝗂𝐵 aside, helping Shoto regain his footing. Red Hood was then grabbed by the arm and thrown to the ground by Deathstroke. As Red Hood stood up, Deathstroke prepared to unleash a powerful move. Fueled by rage, Izuku charged in, seizing Deathstroke's arm and delivering a flurry of punches before throwing him into Kurojirei's portal, causing both him and Kurojirai to escape. Izuku, breathing heavily, checked on everyone, and Shoto asked if he was alright. Izuku assured him he was fine. He helped Red Hood to his feet, and together with Shoto, they skirted Bakugo back to camp, while 𝗂𝐵 and Mr. Compress managed to slip away. Exhausted, Izuku collapsed upon their return. Even in his unconscious state, he sensed the aftermath of the battle. The villains had escaped without Bakugo, but the other students in the forest were safe, albeit some were injured while others had fainted from the gas. Ragdoll was missing, with only her broken and bloodied headgear remaining. Some villains had been captured, and as Izuku lay there, he heard the cries of his friends and classmates, as well as Koda's voice. To his surprise, he also heard the familiar cries of his parents, even though they were gone, as if they were somehow present with him. In a meeting room, the teachers gathered to discuss recent events. Snipe expressed his concerns about holding the sports festival so soon after the USJ attack. Nizu acknowledged the risk but pointed out that, thankfully, none of the students had been captured. Yagi praised Midoriya for his bravery, stating that he had been prepared for the attack and had sacrificed himself to protect his classmates. Despite being overwhelmed by a villain, Midoriya managed to defeat him and continued to fight through his injuries without faltering. Midnight remarked on Midoriya's determination to prevent the villains from taking any of his friends. Present Mike recalled something Midoriya had said during his battle with All Might, and Yagi retrieved a flash drive containing footage from the final exams. The audio revealed Midoriya's voice, filled with emotion as he expressed his regret for causing pain to his friends and his fear of losing them again. The teachers fell silent, reflecting on Midoriya's struggles. Snipe noted that beneath his confident exterior, Midoriya was still a broken individual. Yagi emphasized that the only family he had left were his friends, and he would continue to fight for them. Present Mike suggested they pay Midoriya a visit. Suddenly, Yagi received a call from Aizawa. Aizawa informed him that their new ally claimed to know the whereabouts of the League, and they were gathering heroes for assistance. He also mentioned a problem at the hospital. Meanwhile, Izuku woke up in a hospital room, noticing Ochako sleeping beside him. He found himself wrapped in bandages, and as Ochako awoke and cried out his name, she embraced him tightly. The door opened to reveal his classmates entering, with Koda appearing in his costume, followed by Mandalay and Red Hood, who had bandages around his chest. Shoto expressed relief at seeing Izuku awake, and his friends surrounded him with hugs. Mina thanked him for being safe, while Kirishima admitted they had been worried when he had passed out. Bakugo approached, his expression serious. Izuku addressed Bakugo, who questioned why he had risked his life for him. Izuku replied passionately, explaining that heroes protect others, but more importantly, friends look out for one another. Feeling a vibration from his pocket, Izuku attempted to get up from the bed. Ochako asked if something was wrong, and he threw one of his wingdings at the door just as it opened, revealing Deathstroke armed with a gun, which was covered by his wingding. Koda ensured everyone was safe as Red Hood and Izuku rushed toward Deathstroke. However, Deathstroke grabbed Red Hood and hurled him across the room. Still weak from his recovery, Izuku was slammed onto a table, and Deathstroke turned his attention to Bakugo. Deathstroke demanded Bakugo join him, but Bakugo defiantly refused, stating he would never side with villains. In response, Deathstroke seized Izuku's arm and began to twist it painfully. Muscular let out a frustrated roar as water splashed across his face, temporarily blinding him. In that moment of distraction, he was struck repeatedly by a staff, the impact reverberating through the air. Koda, filled with determination, shouted for Muscular to leave Izuku alone. This distraction allowed Izuku's suit to charge to over 100%. With a fierce resolve, Izuku unleashed his power, calling upon One for All at a staggering 1,000,000%, delivering a powerful blow known as the Delaware Detroit Smash. Just then, a figure descended from above, landing beside Izuku. It was Koda, now clad in the costume Izuku had designed for him, complete with all the gadgets. Izuku acknowledged Koda's transformation, expressing his pride in Koda's acceptance of the hero's path. Koda, grateful, thanked Izuku. Muscular crashed into a wall, rendered unconscious. Koda reflected on Mandalay's words about meeting someone who would risk everything for others, someone who would become his hero. Izuku then asked Koda if he would join him on this journey to become a hero. Koda, inspired, agreed, eager to learn what it truly meant to be a hero. Izuku, filled with determination, declared that Koda would be known to the world. Suddenly, a scream erupted from Izuku as Ochako rushed to his side, tears streaming down her face. Izuku turned to see his friends, all visibly upset, including Koda. Bakugo, ever the fierce protector, shouted for everyone to stop. Izuku discreetly placed a tracker on Bakugo's armor without 𝐼𝐿𝐴 noticing. Bakugo announced his intention to go after the villains, and 𝐼𝐿𝐴 approved, releasing Izuku from his grip. Izuku, still on his knees, promised Bakugo that he would save him. 𝐼𝐿𝐴 signaled to 𝗂𝐿𝐴, and he and Bakugo departed. Red Hood, aided by Mandalay, managed to stand. Ochako expressed her concern about Bakugo's kidnapping, but Izuku reassured her, revealing the tracker he had placed on Bakugo. Red Hood commended Izuku's quick thinking, stating they could now locate Bakugo and rescue him. However, Izuku insisted they would need help from the heroes. As Izuku prepared to leave, he resolved to gear up for the fight ahead. He grabbed the One for All serum, vowing to confront All for One. Later, as he made his way back to his hospital room, he was surprised to find Class 1B waiting for him. Itsuka rushed forward, enveloping him in a tight embrace, tears streaming down her face. Concerned, Izuku asked if she was alright, and she revealed that she was upset because he had risked his life for them. Monoma, acknowledging his past mistakes, admitted he had been wrong about Class 1A, realizing they had only wanted to help. Izuku offered words of wisdom, explaining that everyone makes mistakes but learns from them, which helps shape who they become. His classmates, including Red Hood, smiled at his inspiring speech. Mr. Aizawa then turned to Red Hood, inquiring about his current situation. Red Hood responded casually, prompting Izuku to express surprise that Aizawa knew him. Aizawa revealed that Red Hood was not a vigilante, shocking both classes. He decided it was time to reveal the truth. Red Hood sighed, agreeing to show them his true identity. He activated a mechanism on his helmet, and a puff of smoke enveloped him. When the smoke cleared, he removed his mask, revealing his face. To the group, he appeared quite ordinary, but 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 gasped, tears spilling from her eyes. 𝐻𝐿𝐬, confused, asked what was wrong. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 finally managed to speak, revealing that Jason was alive. The room erupted in disbelief as everyone processed this revelation. Jason greeted 𝐻𝐿𝐬, who was astonished to learn that Jason and 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 had dated during their time at UA. Aizawa explained that Jason had been a close friend of his and 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿's. He recounted the tragic events that led to Jason's supposed death at the hands of villains who had sought to recruit him for his quirk. After a fierce battle, Jason had been captured, and though he fought bravely, he was ultimately overpowered. The villains had left him for dead, but a mysterious figure named 𝗂𝐼𝐻𝐿 had intervened, using the Lazarus pit to bring Jason back to life. Izuku listened intently as Aizawa detailed how the heroes had kept Jason's return a secret, training him in secret until he was ready to stand on his own. Despite his masked appearance, it was clear to Izuku that Jason still held feelings for 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿. 𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐿, realizing the depth of Jason's feelings, expressed his understanding. Ochako was shocked by the revelations, and Izuku reminded everyone that they needed to act quickly to prevent 𝐂𝐻𝐻𝐿 from suffering a similar fate. Aizawa assured them that the heroes were already mobilizing to rescue 𝐂𝐻𝐻𝐿. Izuku felt compelled to speak with Jason about their next steps. As he opened the door, he was met with a sight that was both unexpected and telling, leaving 𝐻𝐻𝐿 in a state of mixed emotions. A feigned cough caught their attention, and both of them turned red with embarrassment. 𝐼𝐻𝐻𝐿 hesitated, unsure of what to say, while Jason quickly insisted that it wasn't what it seemed. Izuku pointed out that they could have chosen a different place for their conversation. 𝐻𝐻𝐿, however, seemed unfazed and expressed his support for the situation. Izuku then shifted the focus back to Jason, mentioning that he had heard about Jason tracking Inomu and asked him to join in the effort to save 𝐂𝐻𝐻𝐿. The members of Class 1A, Class 1B, 𝐻𝐻𝐿, and Aizawa were all taken aback by Izuku's determination. Tenya urged him not to get involved, insisting that they should leave it to the professionals. Izuku firmly stated that everyone must make their own choices, and his choice was to save 𝐂𝐻𝐻𝐿. If others didn't want to help, he would go alone. As Izuku walked toward the exit, he glanced back at both classes before leaving. From Ochako's perspective, she had never seen Izuku so angry. She worried about him facing the villains alone, so she decided to take action. She approached Jason and asked him to meet her outside UA that night. She also reached out to Todoroki, Momo, Kirishima, and Mina, planning to assist Izuku in rescuing 𝐂𝐻𝐿. Izuku was in his room, creating various gadgets, including smoke bombs and tear gas. He reflected on his friend's concerns about his safety, but he was determined not to be just another bystander. He was a fighter, trained to be a hero, and he was willing to risk everything to save his friend. Just then, his phone buzzed with a message from Ochako, asking to meet. He quickly replied that he would be there. Meanwhile, heroes like Endeavor, Best Jeanist, My Lady, and Kamui Woods were being called for a rescue mission. 𝐼𝐻𝐿 informed Jason that she was going with Tiger to assist the heroes, expressing her concern about leaving 𝐻𝐻𝐿 in his care. Jason reassured her that he would look after 𝐻𝐻𝐿 as if he were their child. 𝐼𝐻𝐿 hoped that one day they could have the life they dreamed of, and Jason, filled with anticipation, kissed her. As Tiger and 𝐻𝐻𝐿 arrived, Tiger urged them to hurry. 𝐼𝐻𝐿 said her goodbyes, and Jason waved as they departed. Koda, eager to get going, reminded Jason that they were running late. Jason checked that Koda had his suit on underneath and prepared himself, loading clips into his guns and donning his helmet. Izuku landed at their meeting spot, dressed in his hero suit. He was relieved to see Ochako, Shoto, Momo, and Kirishima there, although Mina had stayed behind due to Kirishima's warning. Red Hood and Koda were also present, ready to join the mission. Izuku felt grateful for their support, and Ochako declared her commitment to stand by his side in the fight. Koda expressed his determination to be Izuku's partner, and Red Hood explained that he couldn't let Koda get hurt, especially with 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽 involved. Shoto and Kirishima affirmed their decision to help rescue Bakugo. Suddenly, Izuku sensed someone else approaching and turned to see Ida. He questioned Ida's presence, who warned Izuku against making the same mistakes he had. Izuku confronted Ida, explaining that he couldn't allow any of his classmates to remain with villains. Ida reluctantly agreed to join them, and they set off together. Elsewhere, the heroes were assembled and ready to move out, but 𝐼𝐼𝐿 appeared anxious. Tiger reassured her that Ragdoll would be okay and that Koda was safe with Jason. 𝐼𝐼𝐿 hoped he wouldn't sneak off to join Izuku. Meanwhile, Shigaraki confronted Bakugo, demanding that he join the League of Villains. Bakugo defiantly refused, stating that the villains had made a grave mistake by kidnapping him. Twice nervously mentioned that Bakugo might be referring to the Quirkless hero, prompting Shigaraki to dismiss the threat, believing it impossible for Izuku to find him. As Izuku and his team made their way through the city, they wore normal clothes with their suits underneath. Red Hood checked the tracker while Izuku asked if the rest of the class was aware of their plan. Ochako confirmed they knew but didn't want to get involved. Ida, although initially against the idea, insisted on joining to ensure no one would fight. Todoroki remarked that they didn't need a spectator. Izuku declared that once they found Bakugo, everyone should run for safety while he stayed behind. Kirishima questioned his plan, and Izuku revealed the one-for-all serum, explaining that All Might had wanted him to be his successor. He felt the world needed a symbol of peace, and this was his chance. He injected half of the serum, saving the rest for All Might, knowing he would need it most. Upon arriving in Kanagawa, Momo proposed a plan. She noted that the villains were aware of their identities, making it impossible to move freely. Her idea was somewhat traditional but effective. They approached a store and purchased new outfits. Izuku donned a hat, sunglasses, and a hood, while the others chose unconventional attire, reminiscent of their anime counterparts, though Izuku's look was distinct. As they walked, they noticed a billboard featuring a meeting with their teacher. The comments surrounding them suggested a shift in public opinion, with some expressing doubts about the heroes. However, one comment stood out from the rest. One person remarked on Nightwing's heroism, praising his dedication to saving and protecting children. Another echoed the sentiment, calling for more heroes like him. Izuku urged his friends to move on, mentioning he had found something interesting. Ochako agreed, while Jason expressed his irritation. Koda encouraged them to hurry along. Meanwhile, in a darker setting, Shigaraki reflected on the shifting perceptions of heroes, noting how they seemed to be turning against the very ideals they once upheld. He dismissed 𝐼𝐿𝐴's concerns about a potential fight, asserting that their captive was already aligned with them and wouldn't resist. 𝐼𝐿𝐴 reluctantly complied, while Twice followed suit. Shigaraki cynically remarked that heroes were motivated by money, questioning the true reasons behind their choices. Bakugo interjected, stating that one hero, the Quirkless one, had indeed suffered a loss. Shigaraki probed further, asking if Bakugo was implying that the Quirkless hero had lost someone dear. Bakugo responded passionately, revealing that the hero had lost his parents to villains like Shigaraki, which fueled his resolve to fight for others rather than for profit. This conviction was what made him a true hero. As soon as he was freed, Bakugo launched himself at Shigaraki, causing the villain's mask to fall away. He declared defiantly that he would never become like those who harm others and abandon their loved ones, insisting that Shigaraki would not change his principles.